up here and stuff. If we'll move to our seats, please. Absolutely. Absolutely. I usually keep it behind the screen so that people just don't see it as much. Yeah. You ready?
Hey, Supervisor.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning. Welcome to your boardroom. I would like to call this meeting of January 8th to order and ask the clerk to call the roll, please.
Supervisor Zaragoza.
Here.
Supervisor Long.
Here.
Supervisor Huber. Here. Supervisor Parks. Here. Supervisor Bennett.
Here. Supervisor Huber, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? The flag is right there on your right.
Thank you. And over your heart and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to our great flag. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And now, Mark Lund, our county clerk recorder and register of voters, will swear in Supervisors Linda Parks and Bob Huber, Assessor Dan Goodwin, Auditor Controller Jeff Berg, District Attorney Greg Totten, Sheriff Bill Ayub, Superintendent of Schools Stan Mantooth, and Treasurer Tax Collector Judge Hentz. Would you all please approach Mr. Lund, and we'll turn it over to you, Mr. Lund. Put them where you want them.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
That's right. That's power. Right? It's the only time in your life you get to put them where you want them.
Can you swear yourself in? Okay.
Why don't you guys stand so you face the crowd? While we're getting assembled here, Chair Bennett, Mr. Powers, and honorable members of the board, we see oaths of office many times. And for those that are watching here and those that are maybe watching at home or online, what's important is this is the public promise for the elected officials to their constituents that they're going to perform the office with integrity and lawfully. And so maybe we should pay a little extra attention to the words this morning as we have the honor of being reelected in June. So I'm going to say aye, and you're going to say your name, and then repeat after me. You good now? It's a good thing that I'm not up there because you probably put me in the far right, right? You good? I do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California, that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties upon which I'm about to enter. Congratulations.
Let's kind of get into this corner a little bit. Who else is coming down? All right, let's start right here, please. 1, 2, 3. One more, please. 1, 2, 3. Over here.
Right here. Thank you.
the smallest camera in the room, Kathleen. The stars having budget problems. Congratulations, ladies and gentlemen. For the benefit of everybody, we will have a 15-minute reception out in the lobby in just a moment. We have one more item to do first, though. And we're now at item 5, and that's the election of the chair and the vice chair.
And
Chair Goetze?
Mr. Vice Chair, I would like to, at this time, nominate Steve Bennett for Chair of the Board and Kelly Long for Vice Chair for the next calendar year.
Second the nomination.
It's been moved and seconded. Any other nominations? All right.
I'm going to, yeah.
All right, so Bob, you that, and you, actors, you can just touch that too, I think. Yeah, there you go. Okay. All right. Well, here we go.
And
All right. And we have unanimously elected myself and Supervisor Long as chair and vice chair, and we'll take a 15-minute break out in the reception room. Everybody,
congratulations,
we're going
Mr.
to
Chair.
take Sheriff Bill Ayub's item. We're going to take Sheriff Bill Ayub item right when we
Mr.
come
Chair.
back from the reception.
Mr. Chair, before we go on break, can I share a couple of words on behalf of, I'd like to welcome Bob, to the new Board of Supervisors. And I just want to share with you, first of all, I'd like to congratulate all the electeds that got elected again, and Jeff here, so we share the goodies up here, so you're still on here for another 4 years. But anyway, I just, we have the DA, we have the rest of the folks that got elected, but I just want to share that I had the opportunity to work with Bob back in, I think it was 2006, also with Art Hernandez, our former college trustee. I want to commend Bob because when he was on the college board, he was very instrumental in passing at that time. I think, Art, what was it, Art? Can you tell us, was it 2006? You might want to share a couple of words when you finish here. But there was a $350 million bond that was passed, to upgrade Moore Park College, Ventura College, and especially Oxnard College that needed a lot of work, And one of the things that Bob had in mind when I first met him and through Art was that he wanted a world-class community, a college district that was really world-class and something that we could be proud of. So it passed, because of, he was, I think, you were the facility committee member, chair at the time when we passed it, and Art. And so I just I want to commend him for working, not only representing the 4th District over in Simi Valley Moore Park, but representing the entire county, which included all colleges. And because of you, we have the PAC over at Oxnard College and Art, and the rest of the trustees. So I just kind of wanted to share that because we also hope that you can do the same thing for us here at the Board of Supervisors.
Thank you for your comments. It's very kind of you. Look forward to working with you and all the Board of Supervisors members and staff and the citizens of the community.
Art, do you want to share a couple of words on that one issue, or because I know you worked with Bob for years and years.
Well, what I think that was very important. I had the pleasure to serve on the college board at that time with Bob, and when we first met, we didn't really know each other, but we had heard of each other, and I think that very quickly what impressed me, and it just set up a great relationship, is that Bob does represent his district. However, he was very interested in what was going on in the other districts, and especially in Oxnard. It was a critical time because the bond was there and how it was going to be implemented in terms of equity, in terms of how funds were going to be distributed. And one thing in particular that is really important as you go through all the campuses, because now the bond's complete, all the buildings are in, and Bob and I were on the committee, and what the committee was, the facilities committee, was to see the plans that came through from the architects and what it was going to look like. And one thing I remember about Bob, especially it was at Oxnard, is that he would say, no, this isn't good enough. This needs to go back. This isn't, we need to bring it back. He wanted to make sure, and that encouraged me. And I learned from that, because I probably normally may not have been so bold to do that or to feel that I did in that time. So I learned from that, and so a lot of the facilities that we have, and that's why I wanted to make sure that I was here for this special day, to be here for my friend. But so that's the kind of leadership that I think that we're anticipating and coming to the board. And being a county employee, it's good to know all of you having that and having
And just
Bob
to,
join all of you. So congratulations to you.
just to add a little bit more to that,
Thank you.
Art represented the 5th District, and I was a mayor pro tem for Oxnard at the time when you were there. So I just wanted to share that because I think it's important that the contribution that you made to the Oxnard, to the Ventura community colleges. I just want to share that, and I think it's important that that was a tremendous amount of money. In fact, I was talking earlier, and the DA remembered that. I'm not sure if the DA is still there, but it was big, $360 million bond that really helped out our junior colleges. I just wanted to share that,
Thank you for
Mr.
your
Chair.
kindness. Look forward to working with all of you.
Thank you, Bob.
Thank you.
Welcome aboard, and we'll all be back in 15 minutes. Thank you. Just trying to get their attention all the way out there in the lobby. Reason the reception's. If they had better cookies, we'd make the reception longer. They don't have those healthcare plan cookies.
You have two more?
Okay.
Okay, thanks. So what's the order? Which from this when this works?
Yeah. Yeah. But you have to pay for it. Just so you know. They send you a bill every now and then. Okay, we'll call this meeting back to order, and we have the minutes, item 7, which is the minutes of the County and Special Districts Governing Board. Do we need a motion for approval? We've had a motion and a second. We're ready to vote on the minutes.
With your mouse, you can put it over here.
Or you can touch a screen. You don't have to by law. You can do it either way. You can abstain or vote.
I should abstain.
There you go. All right. Yeah, hit it. And that's it. And minutes have been approved. 4 votes, and Supervisor Huber has abstained. Agenda review.
Because I wasn't here.
Exactly. There you go. Mr. Powers, agenda review.
Thank you, Chair Bennett. Board members, Happy New Year. Item 18, CEO's Office, approval of the reappointment of Leroy Smith and appointment of Stuart Nelson to the Ventura County Law Library Board of Trustees for 2019. Request removal from the agenda. Item 19, CEO's Office, appointments to the Ventura County Resource Conservation District's Board of Directors. A revised board letter has been submitted. Item 29, Sheriff, ratification of the submittal of applications for the Homeland Security Grant and Emergency Management Performance Grant Programs. A revised resolution has been submitted. Item 33, CEO's Office, approval of the proposed Ventura County 2019 state and federal legislative agendas and platforms. A comment letter from Monica Gray has been submitted. Item 35, GSA, authorization to increase the dollar amounts of 34 service agreements. A revised board letter has been submitted. Item 37, RMA, authorization for RMA Director to execute a legal services contract for nuisance abatement with Best and Krieger. A PowerPoint Presentation has been submitted. Item 38, CEO's Office, adoption of a management and unrepresented employees resolution amending the salary range of the Sheriff Cadet 1 and adoption of an ordinance. A board letter and exhibits 1 through 4 have been submitted. A PowerPoint and revised agenda page 8 was submitted to reflect the change in the board letter. Item 39, Sheriff's Office, appointment of Andrew Kish as extra help in Sheriff's Office. A comment letter from Teresa Jordan has been submitted. And finally, item 43, Board of Supervisors, appointment of James King to the Planning Commission. A comment letter from Teresa Jordan has been submitted.
And which,
That's it.
which item was being pulled?
Item 18.
18 is being pulled, okay. All right, any other comments on the agenda? We need a motion, we have a motion, we need a second. It's been moved and seconded, we're ready to vote on the agenda as modified. And we are now ready for our moment of inspiration. And to my staff, there we go. I'm really proud to have for our first moment of inspiration, representing Big Brothers and Big Sisters, Danica Salvaggio, and she's the Vice President of Marketing and Recruitment. And I think we all know about the great work Big Brothers and Big Sisters does helping us with at-risk youth here in Ventura County. So we really appreciate you being here, Danica.
Great. Thank you so much for having me this morning. Thank you for that introduction, Supervisor Bennett. My name is Danica Salvaggio. I'm actually now the Vice President of Programs with Big Brothers Big Sisters of Ventura County, so I get to see firsthand our youth and our mentors in action, and I get to help guide them from the organizational level. We just wrapped up 2018 with some pretty amazing stories. With some help from our sponsors across the county and from private parties who stepped up, we fulfilled the holiday wish lists of nearly 400 kids in the county who otherwise would not have received gifts for the holidays. We also got some numbers in from our national office, Big Brothers Big Sisters of America. The average length of a mentoring match between a big and a little across the United States is about 2.5 years. But here in Ventura County, through our program, the average match length between a big and a little is closer to 4 years. So we can see firsthand and locally that our programs are really working and really making a difference in the lives of the youth here that we serve. January is National Mentoring Month.
Can I ask you a question on that?
Sure.
When you say the average match is 4 years, which is really commendable relative to every place else, but that's just for the official part of the match. Relationships still continue after that.
Exactly. So once a youth graduates from our program, whether they're about 18 or some youth can stay in our program until they're actually 21, you know, they officially graduate at that point. We no longer are providing that official case management, but most of our matches do elect to continue on their own. We actually, one of the stories that I love to share is we had a little sister in our program who was 35 years old, and she asked her big sister and her big sister's husband to be the ones to walk her down the aisle when she got married. So that's the quality and the caliber of these relationships that we're building here.
So you might match with somebody at age 14 for 4 years till they're 18.
Exactly.
And then you would officially be done, and it would be recorded as officially done, but the relationship would last for a lifetime.
Absolutely, and that's our goal, is to make those friendships that really do last for a lifetime, and those guiding relationships that are really crucial to youth at that developmental stage. And 14 is actually probably the right age that you kind of pinpointed. On average, that's when we're seeing youth come into our program, around 12, 13, or 14 years old. Great. And January is National Mentoring Month, and we like to kick off the year in a big way. This year, Big Brothers Big Sisters is inviting anybody that's inquiring to become a mentor in person to a free cup of coffee. And not surprisingly, it's been one of our best years yet. So even since the beginning of January, we've already seen dozens of in-person inquiries, and we've already started to identify about 10 new mentors, which at this rate is really great for us, and we're looking forward to continuing that progress and making a lot more new matches in 2019. We're also introducing some new mobile technology this year, and that's actually pretty important because not only does it make it a lot easier for our case managers to continue to monitor child safety between bigs and littles, but it also helps those participants in our programs, the volunteers, the parents, and the youth themselves directly and much more easily connect with their case managers at any given time. But one thing that I'm really most excited about for this year is Big Brothers Big Sisters of Ventura County has been awarded a portion of a national grant from our national office to focus on opioid prevention here in Ventura County. We're super excited about that and have already begun to partner with organizations like Not One More, who have a lot of insight into that area, to develop a mentoring-based program that's really going to guide and support those youth, specifically who are really battling with addiction. And not just those youth, but help the siblings and the cousins in their family who are also experiencing a lot of those effects, and help guide them as well and keep them away from addiction, keep them on a positive path. So we're super excited to introduce that here in the county through Big Brothers Big Sisters. I can't wait to see what 2019 is going to bring for us. Very excited to report that we're still serving on average about 1,500 kids a year, and we're looking to bring those numbers up. We know that we have the capacity here in the county to serve about 6,000 kids who need mentors, who want to be involved in our programs. So we are growing our programs every year to be able to kind of get closer to that number, that 6,000 number. If we can match 6,000 youth here in the county with mentors that can help guide them, the residual effects here in the county would be amazing. So looking forward to working with everybody here and looking forward to answering any questions that you might have about Big Brothers Big Sisters and our mentoring programs.
Well, first, 1,500 youth is a great contribution to the lives of people here in Ventura County and for all of us. So congratulations for that. But it also says 4,500 youth are still out there.
Yes.
That if we had more big brothers and big sisters, we could make many more matches.
Yes, that's the number
So-
that we identified a while back, actually. So that number has probably grown since
So
then.
if people want to get involved in young people's lives and want to have the potential of walking them down the aisle when they're 35 years old, how do they get a hold of you?
So, like I said, this year we're really encouraging to meet people face to face and sit down with them, like I said, share a cup of coffee. People can really just get in touch with us through all of those regular channels, our website, bbsvc.org. They can call our office, 805-484-2282. We're also doing, like I said, that mobile technology now, so people can even just text us. They text BBSVC to 51555. And then they just actually connect immediately with a real person. And then we kind of guide them through the program and say, this is what the program looks like. This is what the commitment looks like. Is this something that you are interested in pursuing?
Well, I'm glad you gave us all those because this meeting is archived, so people can go
And
back.
televised.
People can go back. And then we also have many employees that are actually listening to this meeting
Wonderful.
on their computers and, right now. So you're talking to a far bigger audience than just as what here. But if people are interested, they could listen to this part of the site. But could you give us the website again, please?
Sure, the website is bbsvc.org. I'll give the phone number again as well, 805-484-2282. And anyone who does just want to reach out to us via text, you can just text the code BBSVC to the phone number 51555.
Great. And they can Google
And they
boys
can
and girls.
absolutely Google us. We'll pop right
Big
up.
brothers and big sisters, and I'm sure that would pop up. All right, great. Any other questions by anybody? All right. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for that. I really appreciate it. Right. Okay. If we don't have controversy on the consent items, we'll approve the consent items so those department heads can get back, and then we'll go right to the sheriff's item 39. So does anybody have anything you want to pull on the consent calendar? So if we could have a motion, we have a motion and a second on the consent calendar. We're ready to vote.
Items 15 through 17 and 19 through 30.
Thank you, with 18 pulled there, right? Okay. All right, great. Okay, the consent calendar is approved unanimously. And now, item 39, sheriff's request. For adoption of a resolution on the salary range for the Sheriff Cadet 1 classification. Good morning. 39, approval and authorization for the sheriff to appoint retired employee Andrew Kish. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I was going to go back and
Thank you
double
for that
check my notes.
quizzical look. Right, yeah.
Good morning, Chair Bennett, supervisors, Mr. Powers, county staff, members of the public. I'm Bill Ayub, Ventura County Sheriff, and I'm here this morning to request your approval and authorization to appoint Andrew Kish to a part-time position in the management of our business office. Mr. Kish is a 31-year county employee, 27 years of which were spent at the sheriff's office, and the last more than decade running our business office. He retired in late December and left a void that we, for various environmental and internal factors, have been unable to fill to this point. So I view his return to employment as absolutely critical to help us maintain smooth operations of the organization in our business office.
Great.
You have this way about you that folks retired want to come back and work. Thank you for the recommendation. I'll move the item.
Second.
So it's been moved and seconded. Before we vote on it, I just have one quick question for you. You just announced your name as Ayub, and I've heard so many people pronounce it as Ayub. What's the right way to pronounce your last name?
It's widely mispronounced.
Benefit of everybody listening.
Yeah, it's Ayub.
Ayub.
Long A, long U.
Okay, all right, great.
Thank you
Very much. All right, we're ready to vote on this item,
Thank you.
and that's been approved unanimously. And
Thank you.
now we're
Thank
back
you, Sheriff.
to public comments, and we have two public comments. Kevin White, first public speaker.
Good morning. My name is Kevin White. I
Oh,
am requesting from the Board of Supervisors a deviation from the Waterworks manual. In 2009, I purchased a lot in El Rio. Before purchasing the lot, I did my due diligence. I checked with building and safety and zoning. I was told by both that I could build on the lot. After being told that I could build on the lot, I paid $150,000 for the lot, which at the time was my life savings. Shortly after I bought the lot, I was activated by the Navy Reserves and sent to Iraq. Upon my return from Iraq, I applied for permits to build the home that I wanted to build for my retirement for myself and my wife, and was told that they were no longer allowing people to build in that area due to the fact that the water purveyor was not in compliance with the Waterworks manual. I feel that just one of the reasons I feel that I should get a deviation on this is that there's a Soldier and Sailors Act which says that no person should be financially disadvantaged for being activated by the military, and had I not been activated, I would have been allowed to build on the property. I have done everything in my power. I was elected to the board of as the president of the board of the water company, and I've met with the fire chief who told me that my project would present no hazard to public safety, but he did not want to set a precedent, so he would not grant me an exemption. I have offered to do anything within my power. I've offered to build to provide a water tank so there would be water provided by myself. I've offered, I've done everything possible. I've met with Public Works, with the fire department, with Mr. Powers, with Mr. Zaragoza. The only thing I have left at this point, the only resolve I have left at this point is for the board to grant me a deviation. The fire chief himself stated that my project would present no hazard to public safety. I think that the fact that they're not allowing anyone to build because the water company, which I have no authority over the water company does not have the financial means to fix the problems that make them not be in compliance with the Waterworks manual. So at this point, I've got $150,000 invested in the lot. I wanted to build my home to retire. I retired in December, and I still haven't even been able to start building my home. If I'm not granted this exemption, my only alternative would be to sell the lot at a great financial loss. I've been paying property taxes for 10 years on this lot. I already have water, which is the issue is that, they say there's no water. I already have a water connection. I've been paying the water company for 10 years for water that I'm not even using because I can't use the lot. And I'm just, I'm at a loss here of what I can do, and you're the only ones that can offer me any assistance in this. And I would really appreciate it if you would consider offering me this, granting me this deviation so that I can build my home. Thank you.
Dwight, yeah, thank you for your comments. During public testimony, we really can't discuss an item and all of that, but you thoughtfully and calmly presented your situation, so you've certainly have gotten it back in front of the Board of Supervisors. Thank you for your comments. Right. Mr. Powers?
Chair Bennett, and we have met with Mr. White, and we are continuing to follow through, and we will get back to you and report back to your board as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next public speaker is David Grau.
Good morning. My name is David Grau with the Ventura County Taxpayers Association. On Friday, each of you received an audit report that was recently completed that reviewed the internal controls over financial budgets, projections, and reporting at VCMC. The most striking conclusion reached by the auditors was that, quote, an adequate tone at the top had not been established. Setting a tone at the top is one of the most important components of strong internal control environment. The, quote, tone at the top is set by governance and management and impacts all employees. Auditors uncovered 42 concerns, including a lack of communication, assignment of authority, limited transparency, and inadequate supporting documentation. Collectively, quote, these concerns suggest an adequate tone at the top had not been established over budgeting, projections, and financial statement reports. The demand for adequate internal controls, the tone at the top, rests with the Board of Supervisors, the county CEO, and the county chief financial officer. Management agreed with the 42 recommendations arising from the report, and those recommendations included some terms that are seldom noticed in an audit report. These are a few of them. Quote, risks that fraudulent activity would not be identified. Quote, significantly impacts VCMC's ability to create reliable budgets. Quote, exposes VCMC's financial projections to intentional manipulation. Quote, the likelihood of error detection is greatly reduced. Quote, financial statements could be materially misstated. And quote, the risk of management override exists. And also misreporting of net income to the state of California exists. And finally, VCMC has an environment that allows management to manipulate estimates and financial results. Now, on the report you received on Friday, management indicated that not only did they agree with the recommendations, but they also put a timeline on when they're going to implement corrections. We find those timelines completely unacceptable. A lot of the times are June of 2020. That's 18 months from now. When you hear a report that talks about fraud or unable to detect errors, I think that's way too long. What we would recommend is that this board take a stronger tone and demand a tighter schedule on these recommendations for improvements. We don't want to wait 18 months if we have these weaknesses. And also possibly a larger discussion as an agenda item at some future date for this board. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments, Mr. Grau. Mr. Powers?
Thank you, Chair Bennett, board members. Appreciate Mr. Grau's comments and the importance of the audit, and certainly appreciate Auditor Controller Jeff Berg initiating the audit, as well as HCA and VCMC management leadership participating in and committing to implement the recommendations. Our office and your board did support this audit and fund it, and you can, I think the results show the importance of doing it. And the goal was to make the system stronger, to be open about what we can do better. That's our spirit here at the county, is continuous improvement. And I think that's what this shows. In terms of the timeline for implementation, I was speaking with Mr. Gill and our hospital CEO, Kim Milstein, on those deadlines. Just to clarify, they are already implementing many of them. as well as there are some areas where it says fiscal year 2020, but that's really the budget process for fiscal year 2020, which starts this month. So we're going to your point, Mr. Grau, we're going to work with them to clarify those responses and bring them more in line with the timely response this week. And we'll get those responses out to you this week. Thank you.
Thank you very much. One of the values of having an auditor and a public accounting system is it helps increase transparency and helps increase accountability in the system. And so we should always own it and then improve. Thank you for that. We now have board comments, and board members, we have item 14, which is review, discuss, and make assignments of members of the Board of Supervisors. I had one supervisor reach out to me, so I just took a stab, but this does not mean we have to adopt this today, but I wanted to just pass out an initial thought so that you could give feedback. If everybody's happy and we want to adopt it today, we can. If people want more time, that's fine also. But I'm going to pass it out so that during board comments you can review. In general, I only just filled in the seats that Supervisor Foy was leaving or responded to requests from Supervisor Long for a few modifications in terms of assignments. But outside of that, I tried to keep most things the same, although there were a few things that had to change because of the chair, vice chair thing and that kind of stuff. So if you will pass that down that direction.
And we'll have longer discussion on item 14.
Yes, exactly. I just want you to have a chance to look at this so you're not trying to go through this document. If you have some time here during board comments that you want to do this. And Supervisor Zaragoza, we'll start off with you for board comments. And that's just tentative what's going out there, right?
Mr. Chair, I have not looked at the assignments, but I will look at them. But I'll start off with some board comments. You know, we were off for a couple of weeks, and one of the things that I did over that holiday, we had the Sent It to the Sea. Sent It to the Sea.
That's not official. Hey, Kathleen Wilson?
She's just reviewing.
Okay, all right, great. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Okay, like I said, you know, we were off for a couple of weeks, you know, and one of the things that we did do was participate in the Santa to the Sea toy drive that we do every year. You know, we have the half marathon that Mike Barber helps us out over in Nyland Acres. And we had quite a few attendees giving out gifts. We gave out pretty close to 2,000 gifts, you know, to the children out there. And we had Oxnard Police Sergeant Lewis MacArthur. He brought the drag automobile, you know, to the event, and with the sirens going and the lights blurring away and the whole thing. And it was just, the kids just went crazy with that. They just loved it. And we had the Ventura County Sheriff Department. We had probation. I'm not sure if Mark is here, but we had about 9 or so probation officers handing out gifts. And the kids just love uniforms. They just love, you know, it's just really great, you know. Not only did we do that, we gave out 25 bikes, 4 $50 bills, and the main prize was $100 bill. And there was a little teeny weeny boy, maybe about that tall, that won the $100 bill. And the mom went and took the child over. Also, you know, one of the things that Mike does is gives out a lot of scholarships, to $500 scholarships to Oxford college students. And that really has worked out tremendously. And I'm not sure if I mentioned before, but also I attended the Coach C's Memorial in Santa Clara High School. 92-year-old Coach C that was icon in sports, you know, and did a lot for Santa Clara and won a tremendous amount of championships in football and basketball and track. And also I had a really nice family gathering for Christmas at my home from the entire family. So I had a great time. And I just, I hope everybody had a great Christmas and also New Year. And we're going to have a great year this year. And also like to adjourn in memory of those folks on this list.
Thank you. And Supervisor Long.
Happy New Year to everyone. 2019, I'm looking forward to. last 2 years have been a little bit busy with our disasters and so forth, so I'm looking for everyone to be safe and prosper for this 2019. Thank you to everyone for such great holiday parties, even throughout the devastation that we've had in Ventura County. People's spirits have been very high, and we appreciate coming together and really supporting each other. I talked to people in the Thomas Fire, and they're still healing. And so I just want to say thank you to everyone who has been supporting our community in our healing. And so if 2019 could be a healing year, I'd really be happy about that. Thank you for Mike Powers. Great piece in the Thomas Fire documentation film. I was at the VIP premiere, and it's hard to talk about personal feelings sometimes, and to go through what your family did, what so many people's families did, Supervisor Bennett's family. I mean, there's just so much. And I just really appreciate the film in capturing some of the items. I don't think you can capture everything, but at least to capture some to help people. We also were able to see the 805 goats. If you want to see the cutest thing ever and keep people safe, is the grazing that 805 goats does, in which you can get 150 goats in an acre and clear an area. No pesticides, very natural. So I think our community is really looking for different ways to keep their community safe without having to use fire or big machines if they can't get to that area. So if you have any questions, I've got some really cute goats at 805 Goats on the web. They're great. Yes, the Reagan Library uses it. There's quite a few other areas, and it's definitely a good option, and it brings the community together as well. Also, I just want to say thank you again to Supervisor Peter Foy. We were at the retirement party and the Simi Valley Free Clinic. That was a great fundraiser for them, and I just really do appreciate all the time and effort. And I'll adjourn on the memory of people on this list. Thank you.
Supervisor Huber.
Yes, thank you.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. Did you have something?
I forgot one thing. I have to submit a slip for a CSAC event I was at.
Get ready to talk. Hit your button, this one right here. See your mic comes on, then the mic's live.
Thank you. This is my maiden voyage on the Board of Supervisors, and I want to thank everybody at the dais for your graciousness. The last couple of weeks, everybody's been very kind and trying to help me assimilate and learn the rules and be a team member. I pledge to you I'll be a good team member and that I'll work hard. I want to thank the volunteers and supporters and friends who have helped me to this point. Obviously, we all know that it takes a lot of work with people helping you, and people walk precincts and what have you, and I want to thank them. I'm very appreciative. I've seen in the audience, and some have left, longtime friends and supporters, and I want to thank them. Some are here and some have left. Art Hernandez. Art and I served on the college board together for 6 years. Barry Lynn Reddick, Jim King, who's been my treasurer, both the city and now at the county, so a longtime friend. Mike Siddell. I don't know if Mike is still here or not. He and I worked together for many years. Phil Englander, Dana Silvecchio, Wayne Wright, Brian Miller, and I have been friends for a long time, and I congratulate him being a member of the Chief of Staff for one of my colleagues. And he beat me to the punch, but you got a really good person, okay? Good job, and I commend you on that, and I'm looking forward to working with him as well. And I want to thank the county staff during these last few weeks and Supervisor Peter Foy for a smooth transition. It's been really easy. People have reached out to help me. All of you have, and from the bottom of my heart, I appreciate that. And I have a list here that I presented to the clerk of adjournments, okay? And I'm not going to go through that. There's only one that I really want to mention because her husband's a friend of mine for a long time. Halevi Saperstein, David Saperstein's wife. Okay, she passed away recently. This is a long list. And I'd like to request, and I assume this is the protocol, hand this to the clerk, that I'm not going to read them, but the meeting be adjourned. I assume we all do it this way in memory of these people. And so I just want to say thank you to everybody who's reached out. It's just been, it's been really really a smooth transition from me, and from the bottom of my heart, I look forward to working with all of you. We've got a great staff here. I already know the time that I've worked with them, and this is a small amount of time, but some of them I've worked with over the years on other things. And, in terms of other positions that I've been in, I've dealt with the county or whatever, or I served with other people. I served with Art for 6 years on the college board. So I have a lot of relationships, and I'm very, very pleased of how people have reached out to me. And again, thank you from the bottom of my heart. I appreciate it. And I will work hard for the people of Ventura County.
Thank you, Supervisor Huber. Supervisor Parks.
Well, again, congratulations, Supervisor Huber. Your election was resounding, a three-person race to be able to get over 50%. That was wonderful, and congratulations.
Thank you.
Look forward to working with you. This is my last term. I'm going to kick it up a notch. So looking at my checklist of things that I want done, and this is my last opportunity, so I'm going to be working harder for that. Everything from what we've experienced in the crises, realizing that we can do better in terms of our systems of care for people with mental illness and mental health crisis, to ensure that we can get services and be as seamless as possible in those services. Looking at, we have one of the region's most polluted sites at Santa Susana Field Lab. I'd like our county to see what we can do to get engaged in that process, see that we can get that cleaned up. Looking at things that we can do for protecting water quality, and also making sure that we can do some projects that capture rainwater, something that we haven't gotten into yet, something that we need to do and something we can do. Looking at the burn areas and what we need to do to assist residents, but also the environment. 90%, over 90% of the national and state parks have burned in the Santa Monica Mountains. The impact to wildlife, looking at coming forward with the wildlife corridors soon, just seeing things that we can do to be good environmental stewards. And one of those also is something our board has done in terms of reducing our carbon emissions too with our energy use. And wonderful things that we are going to be doing towards the environment. This year we'll also be getting the bike lane out in Hidden Valley on Potrero Road, where we have hundreds of cyclists riding out there on weekends. And then also seeing that has been something we've been strong on here, but to make sure that we are on top of our capital assets. We've got buildings out there that we want to make sure that they don't get run down. Some of them need some restoration, making sure that what we have out there is healthy for the public and safe for the public. So a lot of good things. We are in a wonderful position right now. When I came on the board, we were spending more than we were taking in. We were having an unbalanced budget. Now we have wonderful reserves. So you're in a good position, Supervisor Huber, right now. When I first came on, we were having to lay off lots of people. So we've really got a good balanced budget, a good structure for our budget. So we have been good fiscal stewards, and I think that will be, all of our legacies for that. So that concludes my comments regarding my last term. A couple of things. We had the Community Mental Health Day over at Growing Works. It was a wonderful event. Supervisor Bennett was there. Thank you for coming. We had some members of the fire department, lots of individuals coming together, working with the employees. And one of the things that we did there is we took, at the request of the city and the Conejo Rec and Park District, we took the flowers that were left at the Borderline Memorial over to the Growing Works site and built an area for composting, and then we're going to use that compost to grow Thousand Oaks acorns into oak trees and give those back as in remembrance of those victims of the borderline. So it was just a very sweet touch and thoughtful day. I also attended the United Policyholder meeting. I was really impressed. This is a nonprofit group that helps people negotiate with their insurance companies when they're having damage to their homes. So just it was really informative, and learning about all the great resources that are out there. Went to the Red Cross dinner to thank the volunteers there. Remarkable seeing how many of them stepped up. So many people came to the aid of those victims of both the borderline and then also the fires. And also enjoyed the 805 goats, the launch there. What a nice way to be able to remove brush. And you're right, it did bring the community together. The students at Lorena, I think Lorena alumni is the one that helped start the company. So that was neat to see. And then just ask that we close and honor the people on this list. I want to call out three. First, I want to call out John Kirchhoff. He passed away instrumental in the formation of Save Our Somas. Really was able to have the knowledge to be able to dissect the environmental documents and to challenge Caltrans that had a huge, major intersection they were going to put there, almost like an interchange to a freeway. And he was right, and we were able to do it and help significantly increase the capacity of that intersection without having to damage the community, destroy really a quality of life they have there. And then also Coach Hurley, George Hurley, with Newberry Park High School. He coached everything there and also was a wonderful volunteer. So I know he will be very much missed. And then also a gentleman who has served our nation in the beach of, was at the Iwo Jima when they landed. He was injured, received a Purple Heart, but also has been just a wonderful volunteer and was on our fair board. Camarosa Water District Regional Sanitation, his name is Alfred Nunez, and I know he too will be missed very much. And I'm going to submit these names to the clerk so we can close in honor. Concludes my comments. Thank you.
Thank you. And Supervisor Huber would like to add to his comments.
Yes, I would. I had on the backside of my information, I wanted to say something at the end, and I didn't flip the page over. The heart and soul of my life and my campaign is my wonderful and beautiful wife, Deb. And she worked her heart out for me, and she has every single time, because I've been elected a number of times over the years. She worked her heart out for me, and I'm so grateful for her, and I appreciate it so much. And I just wanted to highlight that I would not have been elected any of the terms that I've been in office had it not been for the hard work of my wife and the wise counsel of my wife. And I'm fond of telling, I've told a number of my friends here, I heard a saying a number of years ago that men are from Mars and women are from Venus, and you should listen to your corresponding spouse because we see each other, we see things that the other one doesn't see. And I've adhered to that for years, and she sees stuff that I don't see, and I'm so appreciative. And thank you from the bottom of my heart, dear. I love you. And who are you pointing to? I didn't mention him? Oh, sorry. And Melody Rafelson and Chelsea Smith have helped in the campaign. And who am I? Oh, and Joel Angeles. Yeah, I didn't. Thought I had mentioned him. Okay. So, yeah, Joel Angeles, the Chief of Staff, and Melody Rafelson and Chelsea Smith. And I've had a smooth transition because of all the individuals that have I overlooked somebody else? No, okay. Sorry. Anyway, my first meeting, so sorry. Thanks for indulging me. You're welcome. Appreciate it.
Well, I would like to start off by also joining my colleagues in welcoming Supervisor Huber here. And as Supervisor Parks mentioned, it's pretty darn remarkable. There are very few people that could, in a race not running as an incumbent, win more than 50% of the vote in the June primary. And so Supervisor Huber, it says something about your support in your community and your ability to represent them. And I suspect, I don't know for sure, that it also says a lot about your wife's ability to help you with your campaign, as
That's
you just pointed out. So anyway, that's a remarkable election effort, and very few people could have accomplished that. Second thing is I would just like to really wish Supervisor Parks well with the growing works. When she started to describe what they're doing with the flowers, turning them into the acorns, going back to Thousand Oaks, you realize that this is just a very special effort, and it has both great symbolic meaning for our county as well as the actual day-to-day benefits for the clients that are there and stuff. So I genuinely just want to wish her well. You made reference to the United Policyholders meeting. And I want to use this as an opportunity to compliment our CEO's office. Mr. Powers for recommending Matt Carroll as the right guy to do it, and then Matt gathering all that information, because how quickly all of these things were able to be implemented the second time around. Just to give you a quick background, when Matt came up with United Policyholders, I was very suspicious and spent a lot of time researching them. I called, I said, how could you have done this without, without more vetting and all that other stuff? But look how fast, because we had gone through all of that vetting with them, that you get the benefits of them coming in quick. And that is a remarkable organization, that some people who survived a fire went out and created a nonprofit to help everybody else deal with the insurance companies. And I was suspicious that they were going to try to get people to sign up with their organization for lawsuits and that. And they're completely nonprofit, completely objective, completely neutral about that. And they just provide great information. So it was wonderful. And the final thing I want to point out is we had a pretty significant article in the Los Angeles Times about the fire response to the Hill and Woolsey fire. And I think it really demonstrates those are complicated issues. Things are moving fast. People have to make split-second and difficult decisions. But what I was, the two things I was impressed with is the LA Times did tremendous research to get all of that documentation. They got the emails, they got the voice logs out there. They got a tremendous amount of documentation to be able to recreate what happened. So I think it's a real compliment to them. And I would also point out, as we pointed out, that we still don't have information from the city of Ventura. No place else with all of these fires has there been a report that they had a significant failure of water supply, only in Ventura. So that's a real significant issue that the public doesn't just deserve, but the public won't heal as long as that's left out there festering. We need to get that information out there. And there is a concern about lawsuits. There will always be concerns about lawsuits. Hospitals used to take a position that they would never talk about anything they did wrong because the lawyers told them it could be used in a lawsuit. And now hospitals have completely changed that position. Hospitals admit they did it wrong, they apologize, and they've actually found it decreases the lawsuit risk that they have. But it's also simply just the right thing to do. The information is going to come out when top lawyers get involved. All right. Somebody needs a hearing aid back there, I think, right? So I wanted to just call that out, that we're still waiting, and we really do, for our community to heal, we need that information. For us to hold our elected officials and city employees and county employees accountable, we always need to have very honest, thorough after-incident reports that clearly identify what happened. And so that ends my comments. And now we're at item 13, CEO's comments.
Thank you, Chair Bennett, board members, and
I'd like to
public. Sure.
remember the people on this list.
Of course. Well, Happy New Year to all, and do want to say welcome to Supervisor Huber. It's been such a pleasure getting to know you and your team and your wonderful wife, Deb, and Joel, and look forward to working with your whole team, and Mel and Chelsea as well. And congratulations to Supervisor Parks. We're on notice for all the big items coming. All right, going to be a great year. Just a couple of heads up, the state budget is due this Thursday, January 10th, so we'll be evaluating that closely and reporting back to your board. A Department of Finance report on the IHSS fiscal structure will be coming out as well, and that could have a big impact, as we know, on our county budgets here, so we'll watch that closely. We're watching the federal closures. Right now, it's not having any immediate impacts. If it stretches into February, it could, and we'll keep you posted on what's going on there. With respect to the Woolsey and Hills fire responses, recovery efforts, the deadline for applying for the Cal Recycled debris removal program is January 14th. And there's been community meetings, newspaper articles, and so forth. We're also doing direct mailers. Supervisor Parks is working on that, and the team is trying to make sure that everybody understands what this opportunity is, because it's a great program for those homeowners who have lost their homes. There's also behavioral health services available, as well as housing assistance, and Ventura County Recovers.org is the place to go for that. So a lot of work going on there. As well, want to congratulate our new Executive Director for the Workforce Development Board, Rebecca Evans. I think that was a great pick, and we really look forward to working with her. And those are my comments. Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Supervisor Zaragoza.
Mike, with the shutdown of the feds, funding, what effect is it going to have on our SNAP program and our CalFresh, for our individuals that are dependent for food and so forth? Is there any impacts that are projected, to the county because of the shutdown? I know that it's a federal item, and
Yes, and that's what we're watching along with HSA. Right now, we'll be able to get through January, but if it stretches into February, then we could start having some funding shortages. So we'll keep you posted on those two items and others.
thank you.
Thank you very much. And we're now at item 14, which is review, discuss, make assignments, or potentially make assignments, or defer until another board meeting. And I passed out a first shot at this, but certainly open if anybody has any other comments. So board members, any comments?
Supervisor Bennett, I have no problems with your recommendations. I would just note that it's the Clean Power Alliance, not the Los Angeles Community Choice Energy Authority Board. So just
Great.
correct the
Okay.
name of that committee.
All right, we'll make sure we get that done.
And Mr. Chair,
Question.
I'm sorry.
Supervisor Huber?
It's called assignments to various boards and commissions. I'm assuming that these are meant for me.
Yeah, this list here shows you.
I just want to make sure I understand.
So that's your request, right? And
Well, I did, right.
yeah, so if you would like, we could compare that to what's on here while the other supervisors make a comment. Okay. Would you like me to do that?
If you don't mind, just I want to make sure that
Okay.
whatever you want, I'll do. Whatever you want, I'll do. Let's put it that way.
Right, but, well, I appreciate that, but let's, you are,
Hey, I'm the new kid on the block.
well, so I see one right off the bat. Supervisor Huber is asking to be on the Economic Development Collaborative of Ventura County. And I did have one conversation, but right now that those seats are by Supervisor Zaragoza and Supervisor Long, and then I'm listed as the alternate. I'm certainly willing to have Supervisor Huber be the alternate, but Supervisor Zaragoza or Supervisor Long,
Do you want to be EDCVC? Is that
he would like to be on EDC-VC,
No, I'm open, wherever you want me.
but would you like to?
Do you want to give up the seat, or do you want me
Well,
to?
I've been in ADCVC for 300 years, so, but,
Right. I told you a billion
But if you
times
like-
not to exaggerate.
because I'm looking at what I have now. I had 19 assignments here.
So
I'm looking at 21 now, but if you'd like to, at least take
a change right now then, all right?
you want to go ahead and, okay.
I'm open, wherever you want me.
You've got that?
Okay, I'll go ahead and then,
Supervisor Zaragoza. So we'll make that change, all right? I'm writing it in right here. And then the Justice Policy Council, and that's Supervisor Parks and Supervisor Long. Either of you willing to?
I would be willing to.
Me too. As a matter of fact, I don't think it's met in
I don't think it
10
has
years.
met, so.
I think some of these committees haven't met in at least a decade. But we have to have an assignment. But you're welcome to have that spot, you never know.
All right.
All right, you could take Linda's spot, that's
So
fine.
Put me wherever you want.
Supervisor Parks has graciously given us
Yes.
a very busy assignment. All right. And then Medical Center Oversight Committee. I know Supervisor Long has asked for that. I know that.
I've asked for that. Could I give you a trade then?
No, I'm okay, I'm okay.
No. I'm gracious in giving up positions if it needs to be. There's the Ventura County Medi-Cal Managed Care Commission, I think would be a good one that Bob could be on. And I could take the oversight.
So stay on the Medical Center Oversight Committee.
Yes,
And
stay on that.
what's the one you said?
It's the Ventura County Medi-Cal Managed Care Commission. It's the second to the last page.
Okay, great. Okay, that's the COES, right?
Yes.
All right, so Supervisor Long, you'd like to give that up? Supervisor?
That's fine.
Well, it's not that I want to give it up, but I want to be fair on it.
you
So
want to help out Hubert?
Wait,
Yeah.
he hasn't requested it. Please requested oversight, but you're suggesting this instead of that.
Right, that's fine.
Is that all right? Okay. All righty. And then the Treasury Oversight Committee is
That's me.
Supervisor Zaragoza?
Yes, I'd like to keep that.
All right, just going to stay with that? Okay.
Yes.
And then Council of Governments, you have been assigned. And then Animal Services Commission, I was suggesting that you be the alternate.
That's fine.
And since you have, and I think that's how I put it down. Now, do I have, where is animal? Oh, there we go, Animal Services. All right, so we'll put you down as the alternate for that. Since you have a shelter in Simi Valley, I think it makes sense. And then Camarillo Airport Authority, I believe we did put you down as the alternate on the Oxford
Right.
and the Camarillo Airports Authorities. And no note to your wife on the back, so we've completed that.
Okay,
Great,
thank you.
okay. So any other changes? All right. Board members, would you like to adopt this?
I'm okay, because the additionals that I have is a Healthcare Agency Standing Committee and also the Information Technology Committee, and I'm willing to take those additions.
Great, good.
Yes.
Okay.
And of course, I'm exchanging with Huber on the EDCBC.
Right.
So I'm okay.
So clerk, I've written down the changes here, and what's going to be most convenient for you guys, for me, in terms of handling it? Do I need to put it in the motion or just say
Could I
as
ask,
amended by the board? Right, okay, all right.
would we want to, would there be an alternate for the Medi-Cal Oversight Committee? Most of these all have alternates, right?
Sometimes they officially do not allow alternates, and sometimes they haven't been there for
Okay.
whatever reason, but.
Okay.
But would you like to?
No, I was going to offer Supervisor Long.
Would you
Okay.
Supervisor Long as the alternate? Okay,
If we're allowed to do that.
if we're allowed to do that, right?
And we'll get an update at,
I
Mr.
don't
Chair.
think that's allowed on the coast.
Okay.
What was that?
Can't do it.
Not for coast.
Okay,
So, Mr. Chair, we'll get an updated list from the clerk from your office.
so, okay, yes, you'll get an updated list for me. I'm just going to review the changes I have written down here. So EDC VC, Supervisor Zaragoza is being replaced by Supervisor Huber. And then on the Justice Policy Council, Supervisor Parks is being replaced by Supervisor Huber. And on the Treasury Oversight Committee, Supervisor Zaragoza is being, no, I'm sorry, he's staying.
I stayed.
On the Ventura County Animal Services Commission, Supervisor Huber will be the alternate. And on the Ventura County Medi-Cal Managed Care, or the COES, Supervisor Huber will replace Supervisor Long. I have no other changes written down here. Did I capture it for everybody? Great, okay. Good. We need a motion to accept the revised boards and commissions assignments. And the advantage of doing this today is everybody can get started on their boards and commissions assignments, right? So we have a motion and a second. We're ready to vote. And that passes unanimously. We have already approved our consent calendar, and so we're now ready to move into our first time certain at 10 o'clock. And this is a presentation of a resolution proclaiming the month of January as Human Trafficking Awareness Month. And I would like to call up April DePritis, Ventura County Coalition Against Human Trafficking. And if you'll bring your team with you up, I would like to read a fairly short resolution of the Board of Supervisors. This is a proclamation proclaiming the month of January 2019 as Human Trafficking Awareness Month, whereas human trafficking is a form of modern-day slavery that involves the use of force, fraud, or coercion to exploit a person for profit or of another, and Whereas globally, human trafficking is a $150 billion industry, and whereas traffickers use various tactics to recruit their victims, including tricking, defrauding, manipulating, or threatening them into providing commercial sex or exploitive labor. Ventura County has documented cases of both sex and labor trafficking. These victims come from diverse backgrounds, including both U.S.-born and foreign nationals, and represent all genders and ages ranging from minors to adults. This month, we recognize survivors of trafficking who possess incredible courage and strength, which is an inspiration to all of us. The Ventura County Coalition of Human Trafficking, comprised of partners across sectors, including law enforcement, child welfare, mental health, victim service providers, legal service providers, faith leaders, healthcare, and concerned citizens, are dedicated to working together to address the critical issue of human trafficking in Ventura County. We encourage all of our citizens to participate in these activities and would like to welcome you to make comments here to the Board of Supervisors and the public in general.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you for being here today, April.
I know we only have a short time, so I'm going to read off my notes really quick.
Thank you.
Okay, so I am April DePretis with Youth with a Mission. This is Michelle Steinberger with Probation, Special Agent John Bigler with Homeland Security Investigations, Aaron Grass, Detective with the Sheriff's Department, and Kristen Perez with Interface Children and Family Services. Ventura County Coalition Against Human Trafficking is, like you said, made up of different agencies in the county working together, collaborating together to end human trafficking in our county. And our mission statement is to prevent, prosecute, properly identify victims of human trafficking, and provide victim services. So we're here this morning just to share a few of our accomplishments. VCCAT was formed January of 2015, and we formed VCCAT in order to, gosh, I'm going off my notes, to address human trafficking in Ventura County, because we know it's key to have a collaborative. Not one agency can accomplish this on their own. And so our work is geared to both labor and sex trafficking, male, female, all genders. We work with adults and children. And the last thing that I want to share with you is there was a law passed in 2013, which I'm sure you've heard about, Senate Bill 1193. And then in 2017, Assembly Bill 260 was added to that. And that added hotels and motels to a list of categories of establishments that have to post a poster about human trafficking in their entrance. So we just recreated ours for Ventura County so that Ventura County has their specific poster now, and we're not borrowing one from another county. And then I will turn it over to Michelle.
Thank you, April. Welcome, Michelle.
I represent probation in the juvenile facility, and what we found is that the youth that are higher risk for human trafficking are those in placement and the runaways. And we tend to get those youth at the facility. All of the youth that come to the facility, we do a risk assessment on for human trafficking. And we also work with Forever Found, who comes in and meets with the kids and mentors those kids. We also do a program called Word on the Street, and it's a prevention program for human trafficking. We've offered it twice now in about a year. We've got another one started in April, and we've reached about 30 kids, and we are currently working with LA County Probation to develop on how to reach the boys. We've offered it to the girls, and we're going to start reaching out to the boys now. But the program Word on the Street is developed by LA County Probation, so we've been working closely with them.
Like April said, I'm Aaron Grass with the Sheriff's Department. I'm a detective assigned to human trafficking. What I'd like to say is we truly collaborate in the county with the service agencies that we have here. We've put on training at other local law enforcement agencies, probation, transit authority, hotels, motels. We've really been trying to get out there and trying to get people educated on what they need to look for, because we realize as detectives we can't be everywhere at once. We need a whole bunch of people, the whole community, to be looking for this types of behavior. That being said, we've also trained code compliance on what to look for when they're in massage parlors and things like that. But it's a truly collaborative effort. We provide referrals to these non-governmental agencies, and they do the same back to us. It's really been a nice partnership, and we've tried to do as much as we can to really educate the public and other enforcement agencies that might come in contact with that. That being said, the Sheriff's Department is committed to actively pursuing people that are suspected of human trafficking and also providing the victims with victim services, as you see here. Another component of what we've been doing is reaching out to the youth that have been affected by this. We do some outreach programs. We try to get them referrals and try to get them on a path that is sustainable.
Good morning. My name is Special Agent John Bigler. I'm with Homeland Security Investigations, and want to first recognize the progress that we've made and applaud the Ventura County Coalition Against Human Trafficking for the work that has been done. As mentioned, in 2015 is when it was formed. Before that, there was collaboration, but it was done on a very informal level, and now it's much more organized, and we're able to recognize the accomplishments. One of the things I would like to mention is we've already talked about how we work collaboratively, but also very important is our victim center approach that we use with the coalition, involving everybody. And this is accomplished using a three-pillar, they're working together, three-pillar approach of prevention, prosecution, and protection, or as we have laid it out with the Ventura County Coalition Against Human Trafficking, proper identification of victims and providing victim services. With all that said, though, I would like to add a fourth pillar that we've already talked about, but that if we're looking for a way ahead and how to continue improving and combating human trafficking in Ventura County, it's continued partnership. Partnership with the key stakeholders, and specifically focusing on better partnerships within our law enforcement agencies, both local, state, and federal. One of the things that I believe will help us to go to that, take it to that next level, and to show Ventura County residents and the traffickers that are in Ventura County that we have zero tolerance for human trafficking, is by forming a fully dedicated law enforcement task force. Not as we're doing now informally or as a collateral duty. If we were to have law enforcement officers and or agents from each agency assigned on a full-time basis to work together, I believe the prosecutions and the message would be sent that Ventura County is not a location where human trafficking is tolerated. And there's many ways we can go to that next level. Grants, which I know the Sheriff's Department and other organizations are working on. There are federal and state grants out there. But I believe that's where we go to the next level, the next vision or goal that we have to continue to combat this vile practice in Ventura County.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Powers and members of the board. As April mentioned, my name is Kristen Perez. I'm the program manager with Interface Children and Family Services Human Trafficking Victim Services Program, known as HEART, which stands for Helping to Educate, Address, and Respond to Trafficking. Interface has been an active member of VCCAT since its inception 4 years ago, and we worked collaboratively with VCCAT members to build capacity for responding to the needs of identified victims. Our HEART program, which serves identified adult victims of both sex and labor trafficking, was established 2 years ago, and today provides 24/7 crisis response, safe shelter, case management, and other supportive services. These services help victims to safely exit trafficking situations, heal from their trauma, develop the life skills needed to achieve autonomy, and safely reintegrate back into the community. Over the last 2 years, HEART has responded to 58 victims here in Ventura County in collaboration with VCCAT partners, including our local law enforcement officers and other service providers, including Forever Found and the District Attorney Crime Victim Assistance Program. We have also provided multidisciplinary trainings in the community to over 400 medical staff, 300 hospitality industry personnel, 150 Department of Transportation employees, and 100 first responders. These trainings and educational forums are what have allowed us to reach and serve more victims in our community. We would like to thank you for your support in our efforts of addressing and raising awareness of human trafficking here in Ventura.
Well, I want to thank you five and the five organizations you represent for the collaboration that you've accomplished to date. And I appreciate your call for even more collaboration. I think in Ventura County, really appreciate the value of collaboration. So it's an important issue. It's been off the radar screen for a long time in many communities, and you've done a great job of elevating this issue here in Ventura County, and I want to say thank you very much. I'll come down, present the resolution to you, and we'll have a quick picture.
Mr. Chair, can I share a couple of words? I walked out when you started your presentation, but in the past I've worked with Mr. Optimus, from Ventura County, Oxnard, and Camarillo, and Ventura, and Thousand Oaks, and so forth. And you're in partnership with Mr. Optimus, of that organization and human trafficking. Because every year we have a march, that I participate in, and some of the information that they shared, I'm not sure if you shared that before, that probably the worst cities, not worst cities, well, when most trafficking happens is in San Francisco, Los Angeles, and San Diego. And they've worked with people at bus stops, for example, in Oxnard, at the Multi-Transportation Center, and work with other individuals. So I think it's important that all the public agencies and public safety agencies work together, and I think it's just an outstanding program that you put together. Homeland Security, the sheriff, probation, and others. I think it's extremely important, and I want to thank you for that. It's a major problem, not only with my understanding that we always think about young ladies, but also understand there's young boys also that also are used for trafficking too. But I commend you for your work. Thank you so much. Mm-hmm. Rosa.
Thank you so much for what you do. I look forward to see if we can get some grants for get a task force going. Thank you so much.
Item 32. Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's really an honor for me to share this resolution that's coming up for Manuel Munoz. I have had the pleasure of knowing Manuel for many, many years. He's a very young man. I remember going back. I'm also a real estate broker, and for many, many years I sold real estate and so forth. And one of my clients was Mr. Munoz. He's a young man, still a young man, but he was very smart. He was an individual that wanted to be part of the community, invest in the community, and has done so. So I would really like to honor Munoz today, and I understand we also have, after I finish my presentation, that we have Jonathan from the Mexican consulate. After I said, then you can share that he also wants to share or has a certificate on behalf of the consulate from Mexico. So I'll share that resolution, then you can come up, and then we'll let Mr. Munoz say a couple of words. But before he does that, I understand that we have a couple of speakers that like to speak before that, Mr. Chair. So at this time, I'd like to then read the resolution and then go down to help you out, then Jonathan and the speakers, and then we go from there. So I'd like to start by, it's a resolution honoring Manuel Munoz, publisher, director, and founder of Vida newspaper, where Vida newspaper is celebrating its 35th anniversary under the leadership of publisher, director, and founder Manuel Munoz. Whereas on September 15, 1983, for the occasion and celebration of Mexican Independence Day, Vida newspaper was launched to provide local, state, national, international news for numerous civic organizations, governing bodies, and to inform our citizens. Whereas it's appropriate at the time to highlight Vida newspaper in history and achieving its positive impact on the communities which is circulated. Whereas local Hispanic communities that represent approximately 75% of residents living in Oxnard and 48% of Hispanics living in Ventura County. Whereas Vida newspaper has provided both English and Spanish news and coverage to its leadership over the many, many years, offering county residents newsworthy information occurring around our state, our nation, and also our neighboring country, Mexico. Whereas Manuel Munoz, publisher and director and founder, has endured and provided readers the best community news possible. It has expanded despite economic downturns and despite the internet. Now, therefore, let it be resolved, the County of Ventura Board of Supervisors hereby honors Vida newspaper's publisher, director, and founder, Manuel Munoz, for his achievement in providing the residents of Ventura County a well-established community newspaper. And this is presented today on the 8th day of January. I have a lot more, Manuel, we simplify this, but you've done so much for the community. I know when I was in the city council, you were always there promoting your work, and many, many times council members, because they thought it was just Spanish, that we needed to have an all-English newspaper. But Vida newspaper is English and Spanish, which I think is really important, and has done a lot of good work, not only for the city of Oxnard, but for the county of Ventura. And also you've worked with Bill Nash, our PIO for the county of Ventura. But before I go down, I think, Jonathan, you want to share a couple of words too? You can go up to the podium. Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you very much, everybody. It is an honor on behalf of Consul Roberto Rodriguez and the Mexican Consulate to be in this room today. Okay. We really celebrate this occasion that the County of Supervisors is honoring the life, career, and project of Vida newspaper and Mr. Manuel Munoz. Mr. Manuel Munoz already has the Otley Award, that is the maximum award that the Mexican government can give to people that help the Mexican community abroad. It's an award that is based on the Aztec heritage, because the word Otley means camino, path, or road, because the Aztecs used to ask Melagua Otli, like, what kind of path does the heart have to take? And the answer was Quali Otli, the path of goodness, the good path, the righteous path. So, well, on behalf of the consulate, we want to celebrate and give a recognition to Mr. Munoz, because you see, from the consulate's point of view, if we go to the most traditional perspective of what the consular job is, if we go to the Vienna Convention and all that, there's an image of the immigrant community as subjects of rights. Like when we are abroad, when we are not in our country, obviously we're more vulnerable, we may not have our family, we do not know the laws, and we have some basic human rights that have to be respected. For instance, if an American citizen loses his passport or gets detained in China, the American consulate will be there to help him. If something similar happens to Mexican nationals here, we provide basic consular assistance as well. But that's an old-fashioned or incomplete picture of the immigrant community. The complete picture is that the immigrants are not only subjects of basic rights, but also allies for development, productive people with families, with values, hard workers that help to contribute to the development of the region here. And Mr. Munoz and Vida newspaper have known this since decades ago, many years, because providing information with Vida newspaper and making our countries closer together, as Supervisor Zaragoza was mentioning, the newspapers in both Spanish and English, we help all our community to be productive people here, productive members of the society, to integrate, to contribute a lot more to this place. So we want to honor Vida newspaper. Its website says the newspaper has more than 35 years servicing the community. That may sound simple, but it's more than the time I've had alive in Earth, so it's a lot. And well, basically, he already has the maximum award our government can grant. I cannot duplicate it, but at least we have a new president already, and when we change president, we change logo, so he'll have our first certificate with the new logo.
And Jonathan, we'll give the certificates together, but we have one more person that would like to give a certificate. This is a Congresswoman Brownlee's representative, Ashley Orozco. And I'm going to go down, and I understand I have a couple of speakers to Mr. Board.
Hello, my name is Ashley Orozco. I am a district representative for Congresswoman Julia Brownlee's office. Unfortunately, Congresswoman Brownlee could not be here today, but on behalf of her office, I would like to present Mr. Munoz and Vida newspaper with a certificate of recognition for his dedication and years of service to the community.
I understand we have a couple of speakers. Do you have the names?
We do. Jim Hensley?
Jim Hensley?
Just have one speaker.
Good morning, Chair of the Board, County Supervisors, and welcome aboard, Mr. Huber. This is great for you.
Thank you.
And great for us, hopefully. I came here because I'm a social activist, number one. Number two, because I've been a longtime member of LULAC. Manuel Munoz came to LULAC, our last meeting, and gave a presentation. We had about 40 of our college students and high school students there that got a spark of what the idea of getting an education and following a dream through. Mr. Munoz and Vida has provided a long years, almost 36 years of service to this community, and particularly to the Latino community. So that's very important. LULAC wishes, and I wish to thank Mr. Munoz.
That's it for speakers?
I thought we had two speakers.
No. One card in.
Good morning. I'm a better writer than a speaker. I'd like to thank you for this recognition, this resolution, these certificates of recognition to the entities that are presenting. The job that I do, it's not complete if I don't have the support and the assistance of family members like my wife, Marilu, my daughter Marcela, since she was 7 years old, she already started working on the paper. My mom, my cousin, my brothers and sisters. It's a family affair. We all pitch into it. And of course, without the assistance of my team members, which some of them are here, like Karen, Ross, a long time, Luis, Tim. We could name so many. They're even working right now while I'm here getting the awards. But these awards, the recognition is for all of us that work in the newspaper. It's not a one-person thing. Be the newspaper was, it started as when I was a student in college. I felt that there was a big need for a publication that addresses the issues that not other publications were doing, and specifically in Spanish at that time, 35 plus years ago. Due to that reason, I started the publication when I was in college. And something that I started as a, I would say, a school project ended up being a full-time activity for myself. And something that I do from, work that I do from the deepest part of my heart, because it's a work that I do from the heart. That's why I think that is one of the essence why Vida newspaper has been in business for 35 years. On the time that Vida newspaper has been in business, at least 55 publications similar to Vida had come and gone out of this community. And I'm talking about publications that were put out by huge corporations like the LA Times, New York Times, to name a few. They come and gone. It's a very difficult profession. It's a very difficult business to be in. One of my advisors, mentors, a long time ago when I told him I wanted to start a publication as a business, and he said, son, if you do that, you will be choosing a career that is the most difficult to earn a dollar through a newspaper. 35 years later, I realized that that is the truth. But I love it. I love it. I enjoy it. to the deepest of my heart because I do it because it's necessary. Vida newspaper has served as a linkage between businesses, between governmental agencies, between community organizations to reach out to the community. Long time ago, we also visualized that Spanish was not only necessary, it reached and embraced the whole community by being a bilingual publication a long time ago. And due to that fact, we have over 105,000 readers throughout Ventura County. We're based in Oxnard. And thank you for the support of the county. Also, Vida newspaper is here because you support us. And you support us to help us to reach out to the communities. We appreciate that. We want you to even increase that support if it's possible because we need it. Now is very hard times for publications nationwide, and it's even more difficult for Hispanic publications, community-based newspapers. It breaks my heart when I see situations in which in cities and towns, community newspapers fold because they are unable to sustain business. It breaks my heart to see that, but also it gives me some kind of a rage because I see that when the publication is in business, the business community, the governmental agencies, the different entities that can support financially publications like that, they don't do it. And then when the publication is already folding, said, what can we do? By that time, it is too late. So any support, any help that you can provide to us to help the community will be fully appreciated. With that, I'd like to thank you very much for this opportunity to address you and for this great honor that is presented to me. I'm very humble. I really, really appreciate this. Thank you so much.
You know, Manuel said he has a hard time speaking and writing, so I think it's probably maybe speaking is your forte. But one of the things, supervisors, that Manuel asked me if he would like to have the pleasure of having the board take a photo with him. You know, if you'd like to come down and maybe take that photo. And I have the resolution here for you, and Jonathan, and also Brownlee's office. And well, here's your, and this goes with it. So if you want to take some photos, and we'll have the board members come down. Oh, you want us in the back?
No, that's fine. Just, you're going to be here in front?
Where do you want us? Oh, the glass. And this goes.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Where's your wife? Thank you. You want the board members first, and then the familia?
That will be fine.
Okay.
Yes,
First, and then the family.
Is somebody going to hold up a copy of the newspaper?
There you go. Vida. This is yours.
All right, everybody, you ready? Here we go. 1, 2, 3. One more, please. 1, 2, 3.
Okay, now we have the family and the familia with everybody, including the board members. And the baby.
The granddaughter?
Is that your granddaughter?
Your granddaughter, yes.
Beautiful.
She's having fun playing with her shoes.
La mamá también.
Yes,
Come on,
all of
mija.
you, come. Just stand in front of us.
Don't go. Let me move over and have it. Right here. Right here.
Oh,
There we
I'll
go.
hold the baby. The guy with the red camera's got to move out. There you go.
Go ahead, Luis.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Put this thing, mira.
Thank you so much. Felicidades por la carrera de su hijo. Congratulations. Primero de la cuarta transformación. Él hubiera querido venir, pero está en México con algún embajador. Bien, vamos.
so.
Not a problem. I'll take care
Thank you
of
so
that.
much.
No, thank you.
Mucho gusto, señor. Oye, one more time.
Let's keep them coming.
So well deserved. Thanks.
These I take.
Okay, we're ready to go on to our item 33, approval of our Ventura County State and Federal legislative agendas and platforms. Ms.
Mr. Chair,
Hughes.
can I say, I just, Angelica from Assemblyman Limon's office is also here, and she told me that they have a certificate. They're going to have, give manual after the ceremonies.
Great.
I just wonder, sir, Assemblyman Limon, I want to thank her for also submitting the certificate. Thank you so much.
Oh, okay, sorry.
All right, Ms. Hughes.
Morning. Good morning, Chair Bennett, members of the board. Welcome to the board, Supervisor Huber, Mr. Powers, for the record, Sue Hughes with the County Executive Office here before you today with your proposed 2019 state and federal legislative agendas and platform. And I'd like to start out first by thanking the people who really do make all of this possible. I'd like to start by thanking all of the department heads and their staff who help in the development of this document every year and help to educate me on all of the many issues that are on here. I will do my best if you have questions. If not, I believe we have members in the audience who can help with very specific questions you might have. I'd like to thank your staff who also have been very helpful in putting the document together. The CEO budget analysts who attend all of the meetings with all of the department heads so that we all better understand what the impacts may be of policy items we're either opposing or supporting. And last but certainly not least, she always gets left off the list, but I could not do this if it weren't for the help of Gia Allen in our office, who coordinates my calendar for the 40-plus meetings that it takes to do this and gets me very organized, proofreads documents, helps me with all of the formatting. So I could not do that without her. I appreciate all the help from everyone. This is definitely teamwork that makes this happen. So before you, there's 4 different attachments to the board letter. Attachment A is the proposed state legislative agenda and platform. Attachment B is the proposed federal legislative agenda and platform. And then C is the document that is the redlined version of the old 2018 document. So anything that's in red print and underlined is new language, and anything with a strike through is things that we removed, whether they are no longer pertinent, something became law, it's just not something we're following anymore. And then attachment D is something new this year. There was a request made to put together a document for both the state and the federal side that would allow for lobbying purposes, information purposes to be used as a handout. So the first side shows you what key priorities are, key issues are for the county as it impacts county budget, county operations. And then the flip side of both of those documents are exactly the same. It's a little bit about Ventura County, some demographics that have all been fact-checked, just so we know, and a list of all the board members and the contact information for both the lobbying firms and for our office. So that's what's before you. I'm happy to try and answer any questions you might have.
Can I mention a little bit more on the handout? So I just want to make sure this is a new item as platform has it. We have a federal and a state. And when Sue Hughes and I and Mike Powers, when we go to legislative offices, it's very important they give us 30 seconds. What are your items? What are your top 3? Let's do it and move on. What we'd like to do is be able to provide them the full platform so that they can dig in very deeply, but also leave a kind of like a hot sheet, if anyone knows what a hot sheet is. It's your top 3, 4 items. And for us on this sheet was budget based on the county budget, what what is important. And then on the other side was information about Ventura County. As we know that our new Governor Newsom was signed in yesterday, we have lots of new legislators that might not really understand who and what we are as Ventura County. And so we are trying to make sure that they understand a little bit more about Ventura County, along with our asks of what our priorities are. And I hadn't had a chance to talk to the board members about how we would utilize this sheet. It is not stating that any of the items on the platform are not important. It's saying here are a couple of the budget items for Ventura County that are really important, and then also all of this. So every single department has priorities, and we want to make sure that they read that. So it's a talking point to intro in. I know Sue has such great relations with both our state and our federal, and so do all our department heads. But it's a good leaving behind because we have new legislators and we have new staff members that might not understand Ventura County. So I wanted to make sure I hit that in case there were any questions of what this was. It's not saying that this is a priority, but we always have 30 seconds, and we can't fit it all in at one time. So thank you.
Thank you. Anything else on the legislative platform? Supervisor Parks.
This is a new addition then, the overall state legislative principles and policies. And is that correct?
We personally, this is what Sue normally does. Goes around with everybody, so this is all. And then what they did is pull out just the quick sheet that goes with it. So it's a highlighting of budget summaries.
Where's the quick sheet? That's it.
It's attachment
D. So you have your attachment B or A, state or federal, and then there's an attachment D. And if you don't have a copy, I have a copy here.
I don't. I'm sorry.
Sue, do you have attachment?
I do.
Right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bob doesn't have it either.
Bob doesn't have a copy? Okay.
I don't have a copy either, so.
Well, my only concern is just having time to review this.
And that's
Advance.
right. So
I'm sure I'm going to be fine with this. I'd like to adopt all of this and then next week adopt this.
Sue, you.
All right, before we go forward.
Sure.
Okay.
No, just continue it till next week. is
No,
what you're
we're
saying.
going to adopt all of this, but just the information.
But you just handed
Right.
The new item that we didn't have a chance to see.
Okay, got it.
So, so what it is this attachment D has been sent out by Sue, but we're very much used to reading attachment A and attachment B. And I wanted to make sure you really saw attachment D because I wanted to get your ownership of it as well, because I knew it is something new. I have no problem personally with approving attachment A and B and then bringing back attachment D, which is just the quick sheet for us to review. Sue, do you have any thoughts on that?
No, that would be completely appropriate if that's what you'd like to do, is hold it off till the attachment D until next week.
Great. Okay.
Right, and so that, again, that quick sheet is just highlighted items based on budget. It's not saying that it's a priority of anything else. It's just a quick, based on budget, what do you need for Ventura County?
And those conversations for attachment D, I had conversations with both our state and federal advocates on what we think will be big items before us this year.
Right, and I know that it was in the packet from last week, or it's been circulating, but I just want to make sure everyone really got a chance to read it, because it is new.
Anything else?
Should I say that now?
Supervisor Parks?
Yield to Supervisor Huber.
Say what it got now?
Well, I think that comment will be better in a moment when we make a motion.
Okay,
Yeah,
sounds good.
Supervisor Parks? Supervisor Parks?
Yes, so the only thing that I was looking at, I believe we have removed I have a version that came out previously, so I'm kind of grappling with that, but we have one item on the hemp bill. The farm bill already took care of the hemp platform item, correct? Yes.
Yeah, yes, it did.
Okay, great. All right, now we are ready for a motion on just adoption of A and B, and Supervisor Huber, you have a modification you would like to make in terms of your vote.
Well, I would just like to pull this section 4.
All right, and you'd like to vote no on section 4?
Correct. And yes on the other part.
All right, so we've done that as a courtesy for Supervisor Foy in the past also. So, so I think probably it's best for us to make a motion. Let's just make a motion on section 4 first, all right?
What is section 4? How do we do that?
It starts on page page A3, major policy issues by department.
Oh, that's section 4.
That's section 4. And
And then as I look at my section,
as you look at what?
that is the agricultural department, the major issues by the agricultural department? No.
Well,
And for example, so all of section 4, you're going to not support, is that correct?
Well, it's-
Even
what
the fact that they want to get rid of palm trees, right? Yeah, because they're fire hazards?
Section 4 that I'm looking at, the state legislative platform, section 4.
Uh-huh.
And it's page A7, A8, B8, B9. Point number 4, that's what I'm talking about.
Well, section 4 starts all the way at A3.
Yeah, I'm talking about from page, just A7, sections A7 on, is all I'm talking about, that I have some issues with.
From
That's
A7 on.
Right.
It becomes,
But maybe I can just read what I was.
I was going to say, you add a couple more pages and you just vote no on, it's clean if you vote no on all of section 4.
All right, that's fine. Let me just read this into the record, and then I'll.
Okay.
I said, I support 99% of the state and federal legislative platform in its current form. However, I'd like to separate out section 4 of both the state and federal document and vote on them separately. There are a few items in this section I do not support. Items that call for an increase in taxes for residents of Ventura County, measures that run counter to the Second Amendment, i.e. an example right to bear arms, and measures that will ultimately cause the county to lose jobs such as oil. So I just have some issues with that.
Okay, great. So, so let's vote on section 4 of the legislative platform. All right. We need a motion and a second for that, what we've done in the past.
And I'll note that we did take out of the legislative platform the issue regarding, previously we said that we wanted to allow for lessening the Prop 218 threshold. That is no longer in here. We also had in there item, I think also on 55% threshold on transportation, which is also not in here, unless you want to reinsert it.
Right. And then also, some of the items that are on Section 4 were voted by this board at a previous time, such as the fair board item that not all of us had voted yes on.
Correct.
But majority of items we have all agreed on. So, and it was approved. So I just want to state
Okay.
that.
All right, so we're having votes on section 4. So this is where you.
State and federal.
State and the federal, he said, yes.
Which is,
So the motion is for state and federal, section 4 vote, so that Supervisor Huber can get on record as a no vote for those two sections.
A and B on the paperwork that I have.
All right, great. It's time to vote on just that, all right? Okay, and so section 4 is approved 4-1, and now we're ready to vote
For all
on
of
the
it.
rest of the legislative platform. So we need a motion and a second for
With
that.
the exception of D, correct?
with the exception of D, D will come back to the board at the next meeting, so everyone has a
Thank you for
time.
that catch, Ms. Hughes and
Yes.
Supervisor Long. All right, with the exception of D. So we've got a motion and a second, and now we're voting on the rest of the legislative platform minus section D, and that's approved unanimously. And then we're requesting that item D come back next week.
Okay.
All righty?
Thank you.
Set? All righty, good. Okay, thank you for
Thank you.
that. And now, We are at item 34, and that is receive a file and presentation of County of Ventura Wellness Program's biannual report. We're a little bit behind schedule.
Good morning, members and CEO Powers. My name is Rob Davenport, manager of the County Wellness Program. And today the Wellness Program is pleased and excited to announce and present the biannual report of the events that took place from July through December of 2018. Shortly, I'll invite all of you to come down and recognize the trailblazer agencies that we're going to recognize today. But first, I have a few words to share about our program. The County Wellness Program, also known as VC Well, is a well-defined and robust program which is aligned with the County Wellness Strategic Plan. Specifically, Strategic Goal 4 and Focus Area 2 requires us to champion and invest in workplace policies, programs, and practices that promote the overall health and well-being of all of our county employees. VC Well strives to provide county employees with a large variety of programs and activities, and one area that we have focused on is enhancing and providing more opportunities to increase physical activity at work and at home. VC Well Trek online platform, which is the software program that we currently use right now for all of our competitions and challenges, also leverages the opportunity for people to wear their fitness wearable devices. So VC Well conducted its first Golden Sneaker Award, which was an interagency walking challenge last year in 2017, or actually in 2017. And today we're going to be honoring the winners, the 3 categories of the Golden Sneaker Awards this past summer in 2018. Another area VC Well is expanding the offering on is employee team building events. The county softball tournament in October was our first offering, and we will be actually doing a bowling tournament coming this February. So you're all invited to attend and participate in that event. In closing, I would like to thank all of you and CEO Powers for your support of VC Well. As a result of your board's leadership, the county is providing its employees with great opportunities to address its health and well-being needs. Before I proceed, I'd like to open it to any questions or comments.
Nope. Great job.
Oh, thank you very much. I'd like to present you with some visors, if you'd like to, our energized VC Well visors for the pictures coming up.
Thank you.
Well, I would just say, just real quick, if I may, really thank you to Rob for your leadership in spearheading and championing this. It's the first time we've done it in a long time. I want to say 10 years or so, and all the departments and department heads who came out to do this. This was really on sort of their time, on the weekend time, to promote team building and so forth, and just a little bit of competitiveness.
Yeah.
Just a little bit.
Just a little
right?
bit.
Jiminy Christmas.
Yeah, the survey
there's some
feedback
great. Let me just tell you, there's
yeah.
some great athletes out here. So
Yeah,
and I'm
we
looking
had
at
a
you,
great
probation.
time. Survey feedback, we had over 100
Yeah.
people respond to our survey, had a great time. They love the camaraderie. And so they're looking forward to already the next
That's
tournament.
right.
So we're working on getting that accelerated right now. So, but first I'd like to recognize the winners of the Golden Sneaker Award. So I'm going to comment on some of the programs there. Then our inaugural softball tournament. And then afterward, we will invite all of you again down to do pictures with each of the winning agencies. We'll begin first by recognizing the repeat winners of the Golden Sneaker Awards. And the first one is the large category, which are those agencies that have 1,000 or more employees. Wow. And that winner is a repeat winner, and that is the healthcare agency. The healthcare agency exceeded their daily step average from last year by 690 steps per day. So all of the winners today exceeded what they did last year. Today, HCA is represented by Johnson Gill, Savette Johnson, Kim Osteen, and other members of their team. Next up is a small agency category, and that is agencies with less than 200 employees. And the winner there was Public Defender, and they're another repeat winner. Let's give them a hand. Also, here's Todd Howarth, Aurora Lazaro, Zeke Berkeley, and other members of their team. Our new winner for the medium agency is the fire protection, and that is with 200 to 990 employees. So congratulations to them. They actually get their trophy. Yeah. And that's coming up right here.
Oh, wow, look at that.
Golden shoe.
Shoe. Hey, gotta put it on.
Yeah, I know, we were supposed to be doing it.
I would like to say thank you to all the departments, all the employees for taking those steps to become healthy
Yes.
and being competitive at the same time, helping each other out to not just sit here, but actually get moving and so forth. So I just really appreciate everyone's enthusiasm on this, and thank you for your efforts.
Yes, definitely very much, because we all know that sitting is the new smoking. So we definitely have to take efforts to reverse that trend and get active, and this is a great way of doing that. So we have a lot of different challenges planned. So the next event we're going to talk about, and then we'll have the pictures taken after that, is our first ever inaugural softball tournament. And this event was very competitive, had a number of round-robin games, and a number of them went down to the wire. And actually, the team that came out undefeated, unscathed, and had a barrage of great home runs was Team Probation. So they're the winners of our first tournament. Yep. And so what we're going to do is have, if you would, honorable members and CEO Powers, if you wouldn't mind coming down, and we'll take pictures of all the groups, please.
Bring your hats, members, board members. What do you say?
So first,
Willing?
if you want to come up,
Will you wear your hat?
Yeah. Hey, Fred, you guys be last. Okay.
Why don't we get under, yeah. Are you gonna get all the supervisors in with us?
Yeah, yeah, just. Yeah, he definitely went.
I'm the winner.
Awesome. Oh, we'll stay here. We got more. So, yep, next will be Public Defender. The Public Defender team, come on up. Yeah, 2 times. 2 times. Repeat one.
All right, everybody find the cell phone, please. All right, my turn. Ready, 1, 2, 3, and one more. 1. Perfect.
All right. And then next up is Fire Protection, and they are the first-time winners. So, congratulations. Then we have one more after that, softball, and then we're done after softball. You guys got a big group.
Here we go. Think about that. 1, 2, 3, and one more. 1, 2. I gotta hold you, Lori, you know this. Sorry. 1, 2.
All right. Okay, and then lastly, we will honor our softball team winners, Team Probation. Come on up.
We're close. We're close. You go first.
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
Awesome. Nice job.
Thank you, guys.
Good job, guys.
Thank you, thank you.
Fred, good job.
Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, good job, Fred.
That vote of the legislative platform was from the days of 2010, you know, the campaign where they were taking little pieces of the
Yeah.
platform.
Well, nice to be in a more mature place in your career, huh?
Yeah,
Right.
right. They're probably thinking of the next election.
That's, yeah, pretty much.
We're not.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the case. That's pretty much it.
All right, lastly, I'd like to just recognize two individuals who contributed that made the program a success, and that was Howard Hope and Greg Bergman. They really definitely helped with the team. So, lastly, I want to thank all of you honorable board members and CEO Powers, as well as Sean Otten and Mike Pettit for your leadership in supporting these great programs. So thank you very much.
All right, our next item is item 35, authorization of the purchasing agent to increase the dollar amounts of 34 annual service agreements. And you can speak a little slowly, as we're a little bit back on time, and let two people get back, but you can get started.
Very good. Chair Bennett, members of the board, CEO Powers. My name is Cliff Kraus, and I'm the purchasing agent for the County of Ventura. I'm here today on behalf of GSA to present item number 35, which is the authorization for the purchasing agent to increase the annual amounts for 34 service agreements, update number 1. On this one, of interest, there's included an increase for helicopter maintenance, security guard services, and authorization to increase previously approved agreements up to the threshold established in Government Code 25502.5, and this is in line with Ordinance 4084. Can I answer any questions about this item?
Does anybody have any question you might want to ask while we give?
No.
Huber is walking in right now.
I appreciate it. It was very detailed. It's important that we look at these contracts to make sure that we're ready and prepared for the year to come. So I just appreciate you bringing this up to us.
And I think also that the 200,000 and make it more efficient for the agent to get work done.
Very good. I know our customer agencies are very excited about it as well.
Exactly right. So I'll second the motion.
All right, it's moved and seconded. Item 35. We're ready to vote on item 35. That's authorization of the purchasing agent to increase the dollar amounts of 34 annual service agreements. And that's approved unanimously for item 30.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Another 10 o'clock item, adopt a resolution establishing 2 regular full-time equivalent positions. County Public Works. Mr. Shepherd, morning.
Chair Bennett, members of the board, CEO Powers, good morning. Glenn Shepherd, for the record, Public Works Agency. Item before you today is a resolution establishing 2 new full regular positions within the Public Works Agency to support the Fox Canyon General Groundwater Management Agency. The Fox Canyon Groundwater Management Agency fully reimburses the county, represented again by the Public Works Agency, for its administrative, technical staff and general counsel. These 2 positions that are before you, a water resources specialist 2, administrative assistant 2, have been approved and budgeted for by the board of directors of the Fox Canyon Groundwater Management Agency, and are thus before you for establishing those positions within the Public Works Agency.
Any questions?
A motion?
Yes, actually, I had a question on this. In regards to the two positions, will they be utilized full-time for the Fox Canyon?
The regular positions will be used in a work plan position, yes, full-time.
Okay, I was only asking because in the last paragraph of a letter, it states that these two positions could be used for other groundwater sustainability agencies, and I was just wondering what that was. But if they're full-time on Fox Canyon, then I guess they're not open for
The
others.
regular positions approved by, and in the work plan of the Fox Canyon
Okay.
GMA. And as that paragraph alludes to the efficiencies that are brought about in the groundwater resources.
I agree, and I think that these positions would be good. And it also that we can utilize the information for other groundwater sustainability agencies because we are all going through this whole process. And I know you sit on our board, Jeff Pratt back there, and myself and Steve. So we're all going through this together. So thank you very much.
And it's self-supporting too, which is
Fully reimbursed.
I make motion to approve.
Been moved and seconded. Staff's recommendation. Ready to vote. And that passes unanimously. And our third 11 o'clock time certain item, approval of an authorization of the Resource Management Agency Director to execute a legal services contract. Good morning.
Good morning. Doug Leeper, Code Compliance Director, Resource Management Agency. Supervisors, Powers, I'm here today to present a master agreement with an outside law firm for legal services related to nuisance abatements on uncomplied properties. And one of the things that I always like to start with is in code compliance is that compliance is the goal. There are other opinions out there from time to time, but as far as we are concerned, compliance is the goal. We're not a revenue generating department. There we go. And within the confines of what we do, basically in the county, there are two kinds of properties. There are those that are in compliance, which don't come to us at all, and those that are not in compliance. And what we find is under those that aren't in compliance, we have two basic types of owners, those who don't know and those who don't care. And so under those who don't know, we have those who will once they're educated and informed, and those who can't, and we try to offer them help as much as we can. Under those that don't care, we try to educate and encourage and bring them over to the category of those that will. Again, compliance is the goal, and we afford everyone an opportunity to voluntarily comply before we have to move to enforcement. And what we're here today about is to talk to you about some of our enforcement tools that we have. Currently, right now, we're looking at what I refer to as a remedy roundabout. There is no one tool that works successfully on every case or property that's not in compliance. And so we always start out, to say the high majority, the high percentage of our cases start out with an opportunity to comply. There are those that we have to take immediate action on, but they're very few and far between. And so we give folks an opportunity to comply voluntarily. That is the goal. Timely, voluntary, sustained compliance. If they don't, we'll issue notices of violation, notices of noncompliance, and record a notice of noncompliance with the county recorder's office. We may issue civil administrative penalties or take criminal action depending on the severity of the case. You might notice that in that roundabout there's some exits that could be added. And what we're looking at today is enhancing a couple of remedies that we have and we have used in the past. It's about 2002, which is public nuisance receivership. And that basically, in a nutshell, is we have a property who either the owner is unwilling, sometimes unable, sometimes absent. The owner has, one of the ones we're working on now, the owner has passed away. There's no heirs. Probate's not kicking in, and this has become an attractive nuisance where folks, criminals and such, are squatting in this vacant abandoned property. It's out in Chatsworth, in the Box Canyons area out in Chatsworth, and it's become a problem for law enforcement and the neighbors as well. And so, and then through that receivership, abatement of those violations and that public nuisance. And so what we're looking at here is traditionally we would bring to the Board of Supervisors case by case. We would bring one in and say, here's our receivership, this is what it looks like, here's the particulars on this. And we have found that in the last year and a half, 2 years, there's been a new director. We've been taking a few more of those forward, and so we're finding that that method has become inefficient and ineffective in that we have probably 10 or 15 of these now waiting in the wings, and to bring each one forward to you would be somewhat redundant and could be much streamlined through a master agreement and a not-to-exceed contract. And so we're hoping and we're asking that you consider approving this because one of the things we're wanting to do is increase our voluntary compliance percentages. Right now, we're currently only at about 40% voluntary compliance, and we're using civil administrative penalties on another almost 60%. Our one and only, for the most part, outside of a couple of receiverships, our one and only additional tool is criminal, and criminal does not work well on most code enforcement cases, in fact, very few. 30 years in the business, I have found that that's not an adequate tool. It's not an effective tool. What we'd like to do is as we increase the ability to take over, again, and a receiver is not us. A receiver is somebody that's appointed by the court to take over the property and abate the nuisance. And then once it's abated, they're able to recover the funds spent on the abatement and the legal fees by either refinancing or selling that property. And so the county uses this fund kind of almost as a revolving fund. As the receivership is completed, the property is abated, and there's very little, if any, cost to the county for bringing this property into compliance. What that will do then, it will also, shall we say, spread a word of the county is moving forward with some of these long-term, non-compliant, attractive nuisance and substandard housing cases. And so the goal is to bring the voluntary compliance up by when folks get the notice, they know if I don't do it, the county will, and it's going to cost me. And so we hope that that is one of the side benefits of this, not only the efficiency and effectiveness of the program itself, but also we'll actually eventually have fewer of them to do.
Any questions?
No, I just want to thank you, Doug, for the good work that you do.
Oh, sorry.
I just want to thank you for the good work that your staff does, and I think it's important that we work with you. One of the things that I think we want to share with the public, if somebody has a complaint or concern, they can always write in. And do we have a number or to call?
Yeah, you can call you're going to ask me for the main number that I should have memorized.
And of course, if somebody...
And so, yes, it's
confidential too.
654-2444. We'll get them there, or they can get on the website and actually log a complaint on the website.
And if somebody has a concern or a complaint, they don't have to. That name is not divulged to the...
No, we do not take anonymous complaints unless it's something that's going to fall down and kill somebody or blow up, and we'll go out and look at it. But we do, under various statutes and government codes, hold complaints or reporting party information in confidence.
And I got to commend you and your staff, and Chris, is because there's a lot of PR that goes with your work that really helps, the compliance issue. So, and I think that's important that we do that. I remember 10 years ago when I first started, it's just you do it or else, and there was really no PR at all, but Chris and your office, has done a great job in doing that, and of course your staff too,
Absolutely.
And that's important. And people complain once you help them out.
Yeah, we're getting more voluntary compliance and more timely, which is important. I mean, we have some cases that are 20, 25 years old. Those are some of the ones we're going to look at first and see what.
And some are never going to comply, and that's where the legality comes in.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this does seem like a more efficient way of going about it, so I laud you for bringing this concept forward. Support the.
Thank you. I need to also recognize County Council's office. We worked in tandem on this to bring this forward.
Thank you. So.
Move the recommendation.
And I'll second it. Mm-hmm.
Moved and seconded. We're ready to vote.
While you're voting, I would just thank Doug for his leadership and Chris and Liz Sandoval there. This is one of those things that could go unnoticed, but there's a really good structured effort here to, as you say, achieve compliance. Has to be enforcement, but at the same time, you're being reasonable with homeowners too and businesses. So
absolutely.
Great work.
And your staff is here, I want to commend her too for doing a good job. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Time to vote.
One more to vote?
All right.
He's on his maiden voyage.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now, we're at our 11:30 time certain. We're not ready for, we're not at 11:30 yet.
Right.
So that'll be, so let's jump over to item 40, approval of implementation of the Food for Fines program at the Ventura County Library. Food for Fines. This This is going to be an interesting combination.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Chair Bennett and supervisors, welcome Supervisor Huber and Mr. Powers. I am Nancy Schramm. I'm the library director for the Ventura County Library, and I'm very happy to have with me here today Monica White, who is the president and CEO of Food Share Ventura County. And we are here today to report on a Food for Fines program implementation at our Ventura County libraries. The proposed program would involve the ability for patrons to be able to donate canned good items and have overdue fines for books waived. So the idea is that for every one canned good item that they bring in, we would waive up to $1 in overdue fines. A few months ago, library staff members were brainstorming about ways that we can get people back in our libraries and able to use our library services, people who might have barriers to accessing library services. And at the same time, we thought, wouldn't it be great if we could do this, but also in some way work to help the community and reach out to families in need throughout the county? So we reached out to Monica and her team at Food Share Ventura County and proposed a Food for Fines fine amnesty program. We are proposing that we will hold this program from February 10th to February 16th this year, so for a 1-week period. And Monica and her team were just so receptive and willing to help out, and even said that they would come out to all 12 of our libraries at the end of the 1-week donation period and pick up the food and distribute it to the families in need throughout Ventura County. I had the opportunity of going out and meeting with Monica at the Food Share warehouse here in Ventura County, and I was reminded just how impressive this organization really is, and just the sheer volume that they're dealing with and the numbers of people that they're reaching. So we at the Ventura County Library are so happy to be able to collaborate with Food Share and help them with that process, while also getting people back into the library, hopefully, to use our library services. I'd like to invite Monica to say just a few words, and when she's finished, I'll come back and conclude our report. Monica.
Thank you, Nancy, and good morning, supervisors, Mr. Powers and Chairman Bennett. When Nancy came and asked me if we would be interested in doing this, I didn't have to think very long. I said, yes, of course, we would be thrilled to be able to do this. We love this idea. And on a personal level, when my kids were growing up, Ventura County Library, I think there was a picture of myself on the wall for having notorious fines. And then, and you know what? And I wouldn't go back to the library because I was just embarrassed about the fine. So I think this is a great idea. If this gets those moms who have books that are underneath the bed and they didn't even know that they had the fines, I think this is a great idea. And besides, we love the fact that we're going to be getting hopefully a boatload of food from people wanting to waive their fines. And also, we love the fact that this is in February. We just finished the holiday season, and during December, everyone is so gracious and they are so generous with their monetary and their food donations. But the people are hungry throughout the year. The need is constant. So in February is our very, very lowest month of the year. So you are going to help make this a successful month for us as well. So thank you. We really appreciate the partnership.
Thank you. Thank you, Monica. We do anticipate that we will waive, bless you, some fines at our libraries. It's difficult to estimate exactly how much we will waive in our fine revenue. Our fine revenue at the library, it's interesting to note, is less than 1% of our overall library revenue. So in addition to that, what we are hoping to do with this program is actually have people bring back long overdue materials, which to us is really the value. Our overdue fines at the library are really there as an incentive to get people to return the materials to the library so that they can be in circulation and of use to all of our community residents. So what other libraries have found that have also done food for fines programs is that they have gotten more back in value in the amount of materials that actually come back than they would have raised in overdue fines. At 25 cents a day, our overdue fines are fairly minimal.
Nancy, Mr. Chair, do you have a list of the individuals that are?
How are you notifying people?
How are you going to convey this message to?
We are going to put publicity out there, and we are going to send a press release to the newspapers. I spoke on KVTA radio the other day.
Oh,
so
good.
just through all of our natural publicity channels. We won't be able to reach out directly to folks.
Because you have 1 week.
Why is that?
Well,
Why can't you reach out to them?
Well, we would spend a lot of staff time doing that, honestly, if we did that, because we do have a large volume. It's the overdue fines that are on accounts. Like I said, they're usually fairly insignificant amounts, but we do have people who owe larger amounts, and so we're really hoping that we can reach everybody, including
Nancy,
those people with the larger
Food
amounts.
Share, you distribute what, 75,000? You know, Food Share is doing a really good job, and I think that partnership is great. Maybe your clients, you can hand out a flyer or something, that can say, hey, even if you have books, that, I'm not sure.
No, we absolutely will be promoting this as well through our social media and
Oh,
through
good.
our newsletter is coming out in February. So we're hoping that we'll be able to promote this as well as possible.
That's fantastic. This is.
Mr. Schramm, if I could, are all of the fines, they're in a computer system, right?
They are.
So we can quickly print a list of everybody's names that has a fine.
We can make an attempt to reach out to people perhaps who owe larger amounts. I can certainly look into the possibility of seeing if we have email addresses for people even with
Well, I was
smaller
gonna say,
amounts. Absolutely, I can.
when people get a library card, do we request their email address?
We do. Some do not have one,
Right.
but yes, we do.
So when you say it takes a lot of staff time, if you just ran a list of everybody that has a fine, everybody, not just larger, everybody that has a fine, and then all of those people that have email addresses, then you send an email out announcing this program.
I love the
I know
idea.
I'm on that list.
I love the idea. I think it's
Yeah,
excellent.
it's hard to believe that's taking.
And we're going to look into it, and we're going to see if we can do that. To be honest, we've been talking about reaching out to people who may have not used library in a long time in that way already. So your comment is so timely. It's perfect.
And then I would just suggest that we don't give out a library card in the future without almost making them think they have to give us their email address. I'm sure we can't require it.
Yes, we
But
certainly ask for it.
we should say, oh, you still got to we need your email. And I mean, it seems like when this program is over, we still want to be able to communicate.
That's right.
And it's just so inexpensive. You're not spending money creating a flyer. You're not spending money mail and all of that. So
Yeah, I really appreciate your comments, and again, we've been thinking along the same line, so we are actively working on communicating more with our library patrons, and this is one great way we could do
And it's a
that.
start.
Let them, yeah, absolutely, and let them know about this program. Our goals with this program really are to get those people back into the library who, may be embarrassed to come in, or really maybe who just haven't been able to afford the overdue fines. But we do also hope to foster goodwill for the library with this project. And so we're really just looking forward to collaborating with Food Share and hopefully getting some materials back for the library
Well,
at the same time.
I compliment you for that, and that's good. I just want to say that in this day and age, targeted communication is almost the only thing that works. I mean, you could put a story in the newspaper, it would reach very few of the people in the target audience that have fines. You've got to find a way to figure out who those people are and direct that. Supervisor Parks, did you have a comment?
I know that Supervisor Long actually requested before I did, so why don't we go to her?
Thank you. First of all, I know that Camarillo Library does send emails for fines because I have books for my daughter that I'm like, I didn't know it was late.
Do you have any
So
food?
it's great. And I really want to urge you to look on that for the Ventura County side. I know they're linked with you. And then also just you can please look at the marketing as to even bringing cans if they don't have fines. It's a great location just to bring people into our libraries to make sure that they're utilizing them and so forth. So I would urge to market to your people who owe the fines and also to say, and even if you don't, come on in, because it's just like you said, the partnership together should be something highlighted.
Yeah, another great point, and absolutely, people can donate. Thank you for saying that, even if they don't owe fines.
Bring a can of food.
Just one point of clarification, we do send email messages out to our patrons on a regular basis. If they indicate that's their preferred method of communication, we do send them out emails for overdue books. We even send courtesy notices, letting people know their books will be due soon. And not a lot of other libraries do that. So we do that, and so perhaps a combination of the courtesy notices and attaching something that says, oh, and by the way, from February 10th to the 16th, you can bring in canned good items and waive any overdue fines, I think is a fabulous idea. So thank you.
And I just really compliment you. I love this. It's great, like you say, in February, it's right over Valentine's Day, you know, on either sides of Valentine's Day. I'm wondering if, and I'd love you to do this every year, you know, what a great time to do it, and it's a needed thing. I wonder if we could get all the other libraries, systems in Ventura County to do it at the same time, and so it would just, you know, that will help broaden that whole message to people. That might be a good thing to do, is reach out to the other libraries, see if they want to do it too.
Yeah, and actually I did reach out to all the other library directors in Ventura County, and some of them already do their own Food for Fines programs.
Oh, do they?
They do. They do them, I think, at different times of the year. So for this year, it didn't work out that we could work together, but I agree. I think in future years, that would be a fabulous thing if we all work together. I think we're stronger and can raise more awareness of library services, but also of Food Share and everything they do at Food Share, and bring in more for needy families. So excellent idea. I agree.
Me too.
We have a motion and a second.
Yeah, one last comment about Nancy and Monica. Thank you for the partnership. The food is needed, and I think it's important, and also we need our library books back. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We're ready to vote. And we're back to 11:30, so we go to item 38. And that's adoption of a resolution amending the salary range of Sheriff Cadet 1 classification. Good morning, Mr. Otten.
Good morning, Chair Bennett, members of the board. Mr. Powers, my name is Sean Otten. I'm your Human Resources Director, and today I'm here before you to make three recommendations. Our first recommendation is in regard to amending the salary range for the Sheriff Cadet 1 classification, thereby increasing its salary range minimum to $12 and voluntarily complying with the minimum wage levels that the state now has. Ours is not a requirement to have minimum wage as a county entity, but we think it a wise move to voluntarily have that parity. There are some other classifications that were below minimum wage at the beginning of the year, but because of the MOU provisions, they're set to increase at the beginning of the year. This is the only one that we would need to increase by board action. We next recommend modification of the management resolution to add recently established medical director to exhibit 1 of the resolution and to provide eligibility for the car allowance at $525 per month. It's the classification B. There's A and B levels. This would be, we anticipate this position to require extensive travel, and it's similar to other classifications that have similar responsibility. Next, we recommend the addition of Section 623 to the resolution, which establishes the terms of the pay-for-performance plan for which you previously approved maximum payout amounts for 3 HCA executive level positions. You approved those maximum amounts on the December 11th, 2018 board meeting. Section 623 details goal-setting provisions as well as conditions and timing of the plan's annual payment. On an annual basis, the CEO, in consultation with County Council, will set measurable goals prior to the beginning of the year. Amounts paid after the year end by the plan will not exceed the caps you've approved, and only they will be paid out upon attainment of the established goals. The established goals will be based upon superior performance in 1 or more of the following categories: financial performance, quality of patient care, and compliance with all federal and state regulations. So those amounts will be set annually and will be, of course, for the first year, the memorandum will be produced by February 1st of this year.
And did you say they could reach any one of those 3 goals? Or?
My apologies. Each year, the CEO will determine whether all 3 or just 1 or 2 of those main categories should be used. In the first year, by way of example, we anticipate utilizing financial, quality of patient care, and regulatory compliance as measures. And then they'll be weighted for each of those up to the maximum payout amount.
And in other years, we could change that mix at the discretion of the CEO's office.
Discretion of the CEO based on the climate at the time, depending on the issues at hand at each given year.
And could it change by particular clinic? Or once we make the change, it'll be applied to all clinics?
So the pay-for-performance plan is for 3 classifications: the HCA director, the hospital administrator, and the ambulatory care administrator. So each level of each person can have different goals.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
And go ahead.
Lastly, in regard to the second hearing on the adoption of the ordinance amending Section 1347 of the Ventura County Ordinance Code, Division 1, Chapter 3, Article 4, we recommend that your board adopt the ordinance to place the classifications of ambulatory care, population health administrator, and medical director, hospital and ambulatory care in the unclassified service, meaning that they're at-will employees in those classifications. The first hearing for this amendment occurred last board hearing on December 11th, and with your approval, it'll become 30 days. It'll become effective in 30 days' time. So with that, I'm available to take any other questions that you may have, and
Mr. Chair.
Thank you for your time.
Sean, on the paper for performance, are they going to have goals and objectives to be evaluated from?
Yes.
Do they start off with the goal and objective and see if they meet those, and then is there a pay accordingly with that?
Sure. So you might recall that last board hearing, the amounts were set by your board at $80,000 for the HCA director and $25,000 and $25,000 for the hospital and the ambulatory care directors. Then the idea, and 623 sets this out, beginning of each year, prior to the beginning of each year, the CEO will create measurements. There'll be specific measurements on each of those criteria, 1 or more of those criteria: financial, patient care, or compliance. For example, it might be an earnings goal that the healthcare system might need to achieve, and a percentage of the total maximum payout will be based on attainment of that goal.
Right.
Another goal might be on patient care, and there'll be measures of patient care
accordingly
that will be set out by the CEO again, always in consultation with county council to make sure it's legal as to form. And then there'll be a document essentially distributed to the three individuals. And towards the, there'll be, in case of exigent circumstances, we can change the document, but essentially at year end, there'll be a review to see if those measures have been met.
The reason I'm asking, when I was a management employee for the city of Oxnard, the city manager had a pay for performance, and at the time it was a 0 to 6%. And depending on how you met your goals and the objectives, you get from 0 to 6, and maybe some number in between too, was how they did it, there.
Sure. My apologies. I should have mentioned some of the goals may be a cliff. It's a yes, no. So
Okay.
other goals may be based on a gradient. So if the maximum payout would be established for a particular goal, but there may be gradients of, from 0 to the maximum amount.
And I think that pay for performance is a good measurement of management materials, and it goes with, what's the name of our program that we have, oh my God.
Lean Six Sigma?
The Sigma program. Because we've had a lot of employees that are in the Sigma program, and they've done excellent work. And if you had paid for performance, those individuals that really did a lot of good work could get that higher pay as opposed to individuals that didn't.
Sure.
And the individuals that didn't, maybe there was some idea or something that happened, they couldn't do it. You don't want a punishment for that either, but if they had the opportunity to go from point A to point B, then they deserve, a higher pay for. And that's the way they should do it when I was
I see.
as a management person in the city of Oxford, when I was a manager there. It's just an idea.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Will the board receive, or will the board have to approve the changes in the reimbursement incentive program as it's made?
As it's set now, that authority is being delegated to my office in consultation with county council, but the plan is to report them, to share them with you once they're set in place.
Okay, but I mean, as they're changed, like 2 years from now, if they change, does the board have to vote on the changes, or the way this is set up, the board doesn't have to vote on those changes?
I think the board would only vote on changes to if the amounts of the payments were changed.
Okay.
But in terms of the criteria, you're delegating the authority to our office in consultation with county council to set those, but to report those to you as soon as we establish them in compliance.
Thank you.
I think it's an excellent program,
Yeah, good idea.
I'll second that.
Ready to vote? All right.
Thank you, Sean.
Thank you very much.
Honing in on item 41, recommendation to appoint Jim White to the Ventura County Transportation Commission for a term ending February 2nd, 2023. I'll make that motion.
Second.
Okay. All right, and that's, motion is approved unanimously. Recommendation of Supervisor Long. Item 42.
Yes, it is a recommendation to have Tiffany Morris on our Women's Economic Roundtable for her 2 years, and to reappoint Gain Brooks for the Behavioral Health Advisory Board for their 3-year term.
All right. We need a motion?
They're both reappointments, so I will make that motion. Thank you.
We need a second.
There you go.
There you go, and
Thank you.
we're ready to vote. There you go. And item 43, Supervisor Huber, it's your recommendation.
Oh, yes, I would recommend that we appoint James King to the Ventura County Planning Commission for a term ending January 2nd, 2023.
All right, so you need to make the motion. We need a second. And now we're ready to vote. All right. We need a motion on the correspondence agenda, item 45 and 6. We need a motion to approve the correspondence agenda.
By the way, Jim King is present in the audience, sitting out there.
All righty.
Congratulations, Mr. King.
Jim, congratulations.
We're saying congratulations. You just got appointed, right?
There's a lot to read, I have to say.
All righty. Correspondence agenda. One more. Bob, you need to vote on the correspondence agenda. There we go. All right. And we're going into closed session. County Council, will there be any report out from closed session?
We may have an announcement.
We may have an announcement, and if we don't, we'll adjourn from closed session. And if we do, we'll come back out. Thank you very much. Oh, I'm sorry. Tell me when you're ready, Lori. All right, I'd like to call the meeting back to order, and we have all the supervisors back in the back listening.
Okay, and item 44, reporting out of closed session, the board ratified the filing of an appeal in a case arising out of a PERB, Public Employment Relations Board matter, and the case number is LA-CE-655-M, and the vote of the board was 5-0. Thank you very much.
All right, and now we'll adjourn this meeting for the day. Thank you.